All right. Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and TikTok lovers, Dark Dimension enjoyers, and believers. Welcome back. So, episode 25, a quarter of the way to the Centennials. How far we've come in this Dark Dimension. So, this is the series where I go over some TikTok stuff that I send to myself that depresses me, that shows us that things are fucked, to basically prove people wrong that don't believe things are fucked, because a lot of people have this idea that if we believe hard enough in the power of friendship, that it'll just all work out. And I'm here to show you that's wrong. And I don't do it for evil reasons, I do it to show us the reality. Only through the reality can we learn how to actually fix shit. And also because this is a giant advertisement for my Twitch channel, Twitch TV Tecnics channel. But anyway, I got some food here. This gives me an excuse to eat and watch some TikToks. We're about a month or more behind, but as time has gone on, because I've been more depressed, because I've been more busy, and because of other things that I don't want to mention, I have not sent as many TikToks to myself over time. So, going forward, we should be able to get through a decent chunk because there's just not as many bundled in, if that makes sense. So, without further ado, let's get into it. But before we get into it, as always, we are going to repeat ourselves many times because this series is basically at this point 95% of stuff we're just gonna say over and over again because it applies to all this shit. Anyway, let's get into it. Eee!
There's other places where literally it's a vibe just to be alive, and I feel like New York.
Yeah, listen, this guy looks like he's trying to have a vibe being alive. This guy obviously is a hoodlum. You know, no disrespect to that. But this is where, if you're trying to have any sort of peaceful life, and everyone knows this by now if you watch this series, and I'm going to be eating candy in the background, but if you watch this series, you're going to know that I fucking detest New York, because this place is a rat trap. If you're poor to medium class, you probably hate New York. If you're like upper medium class to high class, you probably love New York. This place is a place for the rich that traps the poor, where the rich siphon off them. And this guy doesn't look too rich unless he's a rapper that I don't know about. But it looks like he's trying to have a good time, and you can have a good time and be happy in New York. Monetarily, at least.
New York is not that type of place. That's basically the best way I could put it. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
Literally
It's straight up
everybody
true.
in New York is like struggling to survive in
Uh-huh.
some type of way, and like
The only people who are not struggling are like the 1% of the 1%. And the thing that sucks too is that's a lot of people number wise in New York, because New York is so fucking packed. We have so many people in such a small place, it's insane. I think the number was 7 million. I think there's 7 million people in NYC. Let's actually fact check that. How many people are in NYC? Oh my god, it went up. New York City, right? The five boroughs has about almost half the population of the state. The city is such a small part of the state, it's insane. But yeah, we're all shoved into the icebox here. This is why the New York City transit system is so fucked. I literally call it being packed in like sardines, because that's what it feels like.
even like the most happiest person, low key, is like miserable or just like hates their
Nah,
life or
unless you're
hates other
rich.
things about where they're at. You feel me? Like
Actually, no, even if you're rich, you probably hate the homeless people, which are plentiful.
even if you like love your neighborhood, at the same time you really hate your neighborhood. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, or even if you like lived in the same building your whole life, and you know what I'm saying, you feel but you really hate that building, and you hate that one person, that other person, this person, you hate
I'm
seeing the
pretty sure
same,
he's not
you know what
talking
I'm
about the rich
saying? So
people.
it's just like New York is just like, I don't know, it's just weird like that. There's
Yeah, it really is. Ironically enough, I think this guy's a rapper because I think at the bottom here it says Crime Life Cash or Cass. I don't know what his name is, but that looks like a rapper name.
other places where
But yeah, other places, everywhere, like the comments say here, everyone has struggles everywhere, but in New York, it's way worse. Like, bro, it is so bad. The minimum wage here, even though it's higher than federal, which federal it's like 7.25 or some shit around there, which is not a lot, but it all depends on what the price of living is, what the cost of living in your area is. In New York, even though it's more than double minimum wage federally, it is nowhere near enough to live a good life. And we've done the math before in other episodes. If you have a minimum wage job and work full time, let's just check up on the rent situation in the Bronx, which is considered to be one of the cheaper sides of the cities. I actually found out recently, though, that Staten Island, which is so far out of the way because you literally need to take a ferry to go there, I heard rent there is even cheaper, but it's a fucking island. There's not much space on it, and again, it's very inconvenient. So not many people are going to be living there. Here we go. Look, it comes up Bronx average rent. Let's see. So the average rent for a 3-bedroom is 3K. Jesus Christ. Let's see. Average rent in the Bronx. So Bronx rentals average from 2,375 for a studio rental to 3,600 for a 4-bedroom. 4-bedroom isn't bad, but let's see. Let me see 1-bedroom. 1-bedroom. Okay, fuck. We gotta go on Zumper. Yeah, 1-bedroom is 2,125. And again, if you're on minimum wage, right? And let's just say you don't have family to help you. Minimum wage is 15. And we're not going to include taxes. If we include taxes, you're dead. You can't afford food. Which is unrealistic, but for the sake of argument, right? So 15 times 40 times 52. Divided by 12. I don't know why I did that. Divided by 12. So a month you're making 2,600, right? Before taxes. Rent is already eating up almost all of that. You still have to commute. You still have to buy food. Oh, you want internet? Okay. You're not going to afford anything. Let's just take it after rent, right? Or after taxes. So 0.8. We're going to multiply by 0.8. You're making about 2,080 a month. You can't even afford to rent if you do nothing else. If you don't eat, if you don't travel, if you do nothing, you still cannot afford rent. And I've said this before. But anyway, very nice video. Let's go next.
It is hard to believe, but thanks to recent developments, it looks like we might actually be getting
There's
a
no way
cage
they
fight
actually
between
look like
Mark
that shirtless.
Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. Here's what we now know. Dana White, the owner of the UFC, said that he was on the phone with both Zuck and
Look at
Elon
this
for
guy.
over
This
an hour
guy's
and a
rich.
half last night, and that, quote, both of them are dead serious about this fight. That is
Just imagine that call. Because I think there's a bit of an age discrepancy between Elon and Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know how the fuck that call went, but that must have been hilarious, just having like Lizard Man and freaking like Old Man on there. Like, oh my god.
They discussed the money they could raise for charity, with Dana saying that it would
Oh yeah, charity. You know what that means? Tax write-off.
be the biggest fight ever in the history of the world, breaking all pay-per-view records by hundreds of millions of dollars.
Honestly, they're not wrong.
Location would be in Vegas and it would be fought in an octagon. The referee,
Wow.
I'm calling it now, better be Joe Rogan, since he knows both of them very well. And Andrew Tate has offered to train Elon in preparation.
Bro, Andrew Tate is dealing with his own problems right now. This guy might go to jail, or he might be in jail, I don't even know anymore, for like sex trafficking and like rape and all that stuff.
For the fight. Here we have their stats. Zuck has the age advantage,
Yeah, look, here are their stats.
where Elon has the height and weight. Zuck,
Dude, Elon, just like, I feel like could just like truck him. I feel like Elon is a heavy set guy too.
as we all know, trains jiu-jitsu and is pretty damn decent. But Elon revealed to Dana that he has trained a number of mixed martial arts and
He's lying.
has gone into plenty of fights back in South Africa.
Yeah, he's a liar.
The question is, who do you think will win this?
Yeah, like, look at the body difference. Oh my god, what is that picture? But yeah, look at the body difference here. Like, if Elon gets to this guy, they shouldn't even be in the same weight class. But, you know, Mark Zuckerberg does apparently know how to fight, though, with jiu-jitsu. So, why did I include this in the Dark Dimension series? Number one, just for a little bit of comedic relief. But number two, because this is the shit that's getting publicized, right? This is the thing that everyone's kind of talking about. It's similar to the submarine incident, where, you know, the submarine got lost and it exploded, but no one knew for a little bit, and everyone was caring about that. This is where these two rich fucks who can literally buy countries are gonna just punch each other for a little bit, right? For like one night. And this is gonna cause so much attention, so much money, this and that. And it could just be used on so much better things. And I know that sounds like, you know, who likes the guy that says, oh, you guys can't have fun? You know, you spent that dollar on a donut when you could have given it to the homeless. Why aren't you giving everything to the homeless, right? Why aren't you fixing all the world's problems? Well, you're a normal person. These people are not. I feel like, and this might be a hot take, but once you become rich, especially how you become rich matters, right? Because they become rich off exploitation. I mean, look at how they're running their companies. So this is where they have kind of a moral responsibility in my mind with the amount of wealth they have and how they've gained it to sort of help society, where they really haven't. Like, Elon alone is like actively denying people a lot of stuff. I remember when the Ukraine stuff was happening, he actively blackmailed our government saying like, "Oh, I'm going to take away internet from them because you struck down my ideas that were stupid or that you thought I was stupid." The trained military generals thought his ideas were stupid. So he's like, "Okay, well, now you guys have to pay for the internet in Ukraine. Sorry. I can't afford it. I'm Elon Musk." Who knows if that's the actual situation, but these two rich assholes are just gonna punch each other rather than fixing actual issues. It's so stupid. Like, this is what people care about. It's so dumb. But I'm probably gonna watch it too. Definitely not paying for it though.
This fight.
Anyway, let's go next.
Moscow has executed the fortress plan to attempt to stop the coup attempt, with Russia's
Oh,
top
shit.
general pleading with the Wagner troops, saying, "I urge you to stop and return your bases and obey the orders of Putin." And Wagner's military convoys are reportedly beginning to move towards Moscow and are facing no resistance, with the Russian military
Wow.
setting up around Moscow and is sending more reinforcements to the city. Roadblocks are being placed around the city and on the roads leading to the city. The internet is also reportedly being shut down in Russia, and Russian media is claiming that Ukraine has begun to take advantage of the chaos and has made advances towards Bakhmut. Follow to stay in the loop.
So, as was said by Philip DeFranco, I think the most important thing from all of this is, as was said in the comments, how will this affect LeBron's legacy? But in all seriousness, I mean, this is old news because, again, we're over a month behind at this point. But this is where the Wagner group basically rebelled against Putin, and then they struck a deal. I'll give you just the spoiler alerts here because I don't know how many videos I sent myself of this, but they basically rebelled. They were like, okay, you guys aren't helping us. You guys are sabotaging us, the Wagner group, the guys you're paying. So we're going to fuck you up now, right? So they were marching towards Russia. Then one of Putin's friends basically struck a deal with them, got them back on their side. And they're not even calling it like a protest. Or I think they're calling it a protest or some bullshit like that. They're not even calling it a coup attempt, which is so funny to me. But yeah, this whole Ukraine shit, I swear to God, it's just so crazy that I heard recently, and I think this is spoiling a future video I sent myself, that because of an accounting error, right? The accounting error led to us having to send more money to Ukraine, which is fucking crazy. But anyway, Ukraine's a whole mess. Let's keep going. But yeah, this little coup basically got shut down. It's like it never happened.
Good morning, bad news.
Oh,
Why are people
no.
making so many jokes and memes about the submarine that imploded with 2 billionaires on board? Don't we have any empathy, even for billionaires? Well, the actual answer is no. Psychologically, sociologically, biologically, and logically, it is
Okay, I don't know about all those ways. I think maybe sociologically, sure. Psychologically, maybe. Logically, yes. Biologically, I don't think so. But maybe. Honestly, you can make an argument for all of these.
not possible for the average person to feel a sense of empathy towards billionaires.
But obviously, good morning, bad news. As we've seen before, is very strongly towards some opinions where I don't think it's straight no that they don't feel sympathy in all those ways. I think for some of them you can argue, but it's not a guaranteed just straight no.
And the reason is more interesting than you'd think. Empathy is primarily a trait based in community. It's evolutionarily valuable because it helps people build societies in which it's safer and more productive to live. If you
So this is where in history, this is what I actually learned in college with my media degree, best degree ever, by the way. This is where I learned that one of the defining things in nature that basically helps populations live, and these are not populations of humans, but populations of all animals, it helps species lives, is altruism. So humans have altruism, but humans are not the only altruistic species, but we're one of the most altruistic because look at us, right? Look at all the programs that they don't like in America that give money to the homeless or people pretending to be homeless. But this is where altruism was one of the things that evolved into species that basically was a guaranteed way to like stay alive and to like survive. Altruism was so good. So this is where it gets interesting.
you care about what happens to the people around you, they're likely to care about what happens to you. So
Altruism.
empathy is not a human-to-human experience, but a human-to-community experience,
And it's in animals too,
which is why
kind of.
you feel more empathy towards your friends or parents than you do towards a stranger on the internet, even though they're all equally human. And the empathy problem with billionaires is that they are not part of any community. In fact, the
Remember what I always say, billionaires are divorced from society. They're separate.
very first thing that people do when they generate massive wealth is use that wealth to distance themselves from society, because that makes it
You don't want to be with the drugs. But honestly, this is fair because A lot of people, especially nowadays, they'll fucking rob you if you're rich.
Easier to control and exploit the people whose labor you're stealing to make yourself rich. So when everyday people look at billionaires, they don't see members of their community or even members of the greater society, and it's impossible to genuinely empathize with someone who is actively rejecting and working to destroy the community
Wow, that's fucked up.
you belong to. In fact, it generates the opposite of empathy. And that's where the logical aspect comes into play. Billionaires are a crime against humanity. We live in a post-scarcity society where billionaires hoard resources and create artificial scarcity for the sole purpose of increasing their
What
wealth.
the
It's
hell are
deeply
these
counterintuitive and
images?
psychologically destructive to have empathy for something that is openly trying to cause you extreme harm. That's why we do chemotherapy when we have cancer, even though cancer is by every definition an immutable piece of you that shares your DNA. And billionaires cause extreme harm using the product of your own labor.
Yeah, but they also create the rules. It's like getting cancer in your brain. At that point, you can't get the cancer out because it's, you know, you need it.
In the cruelest, most painful way possible, because the longer they can make you suffer, the more of your labor they can hoard. And the worst part is that they're not even using it for themselves. They're just stockpiling the money that we worked for, and in the rare cases they do spend it on themselves, like paying $250,000 to strap into an untested, unregulated, and unsafe metal tube.
The sad part is everything he said there is true.
Piloted by a Bluetooth controller, it is impossible to empathize with them when they waste 65,616 school lunches each to implode at the bottom of the ocean.
Oof. So yeah, this is where I think he's halfway right, or like I halfway agree with him. I don't think people are fully against billionaires. I think definitely people who are poor are fully against billionaires. But this is where, in society, being able to do anything you want essentially leads you to be divorced from society. A lot of society is being told, no, you can't do this, or no, you don't have the means to do this. Oh, I want to relax. Oh, well, you have to work. Oh, I want to go on vacation. Oh, you don't have enough money. Oh, I want to have a decent meal that's like healthy for me. You don't have enough money. It either boils down to time or money, and in the rare cases health, but at that point, you know, you need money for that. Or if you don't need money, then you have more important things to basically look after. At that point, health isn't really solvable. But aside from health, it's mostly time and money that's limiting you. And for a lot of people, it's literally both. It's compounded. So this is where, once you take away those restrictions, a lot of people, look at it like this, right? You could see this a little bit with retirement. When people retire, let's just say you retire earlier than your friends. All your friends still have to work. You're retired, you don't have to work. You could do things. But people want to do things with their friends. People want to do things with each other. So what ends up happening, you're in a way separated from them because now you can do things, but you can't do things with them because they're still under the yoke of work. So you can kind of see it with retirement in a smaller but a more succinct way. But when you're rich and you get divorced from society, at that point, your only other friends are probably going to be billionaires or whoever's rich with you in your bracket. Because, you know, you're not a part of regular society anymore. Things are different for you. This is where being rich sort of corrupts you, if you let it, kind of. But anyway, pretty good video. But yeah, we don't care about the rich. There's, I guess, some pseudo proof. I don't want to call this exact proof, but pseudo proof. Also, look at the fucked up comments, man. Haha, billionaire ghost skull emoji. That's fucked.
If you eat bread, this affects you. While
No,
you've been
I eat
distracted
bread.
by this submersible.
Oh, yeah, or
What's your update for
oh shit, I fucking like this shit. So not even just the submersible, either the submersible or the Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg fight. Any rich bullshit.
that is they're gone. This is what I said 2 days ago. Thank you for 12 million views. Never
Wow.
really expected my underwater
Yeah, hopefully I could get that on my videos.
acoustics knowledge to
One day.
rise to fame. What has BlackRock been up to while everyone's distracted?
Buying everything. Oh, what a surprise here, everyone. Ukraine, aka war, is good for business. It's not like that's historically proven with every fucking war, especially World War II.
I'll give an example. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain silos. Price of wheat's gonna go mad up.
It's no mystery that war claims
Just look at the focus there. Oh, not food got blown up. Oh no, how are people going to be able to eat? The focus is, oh, we can charge more money now. That's the focus.
calamity and the despair of so many people often fuels the profits of the elite. And in that clip, it talks about the price of wheat skyrocketing due to the wheat silos in Ukraine being destroyed, which will affect the prices of anything that you eat that utilizes wheat.
So while
AKA
everyone's
bread.
distracted, I was like, what has BlackRock and the other big banks been doing this entire week while no one's looking?
Oh,
BlackRock
evil.
and JP Morgan helped set up Ukraine Reconstruction Bank.
That's so kind
Wow.
of them. They also helped Ukraine restructure their debt. You know that phrase where, the bank actually owns your home, they own your ass. BlackRock did that for an entire country. And do you
Insane. And remember, I walk by BlackRock every morning I have work.
Remember at the beginning of the clip when he mentioned wheat prices skyrocketing? Oh my god, look at that. Wheat price is up 25%. And BlackRock says that they got rid of their Russian securities, but the only thing that they really did was change the name. So BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, China. They changed it to BIC, so it's now Brazil, India, China. And that
I'm actually
ETF
surprised that BIC, the pen company, didn't sue them.
is weighted 84% towards China, which it was that way before. So it's a
Wow.
great show of support, but they really haven't done anything. Be honest, tell me, what do you think the percent profit is going to be for them to rebuild Ukraine? How many wheat contracts do you think they own? How many Brazil, India, China shares do you think that they own? Which, this is the accumulation line, so there's a lot of accumulations of these shares, likely internally, because I don't imagine a lot of American investors are interested in that yet. Which, interestingly, inside of that ETF, a lot of it is Chinese construction. Chinese Construction Bank Corp, Housing Development Finance Corp, Alibaba, JD.com. I guarantee you that Russia and Putin is not benefiting at all from all of those BlackRock and JP Morgan investments into Chinese companies. They're not friends or anything. Ooh, shiny object.
This is crazy. So, yeah, we can see the banks being evil again, as usual. This shit's just crazy, man. So, I'm gonna say this again. I say this every video, but I'm gonna say it here, as always. I don't know how truthful this is, because I hope this episode we're gonna get to the reaction of the initial video saying something, and then the video basically disproving it. It was actually about inflation, ironically enough, with the Great Depression. So I believe we're gonna get to it this time, but we're gonna see. But essentially, I always say every episode, how can we know when things are true? And at this point, it's hard to tell without a lot of research, and even then, I'm not totally sure. So this is where we just got to take it with a grain of salt, because if we doubt everything, we can't go anywhere. So we're going to assume it's true, but we're going to leave the possibility for whatever anyone is saying, not just this guy, and not just the people I trust either, like, Mr. Jackson from North Carolina, I believe, the senator. We have to take everything with a grain of salt. Now, the grain could be bigger or smaller depending on who it is and how trustworthy they are, but always don't assume what I'm showing is real. Basic principle. Let's go next.
The Russian Civil War is now in full swing. I've covered news for 17 years now, and this is one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
So Philip DeFranco is also obviously biased. He's very much against Putin, obviously, but most people are, so it's not a bad thing. But I'm just saying, like, the way he presents the news, it's not as bad as Good Morning Bad News, but it's definitely in a realm where it's very geared towards a certain opinion, and I feel like that will definitely affect how it's viewed versus the opinions that are gained from it from certain people. Now, you could say that with everything. Everything's going to affect someone's opinion, how it's shown. But I feel like this is going into boundaries where it's kind of affecting it a little harder than it should be.
You've got Putin saying he'll do anything to defend Russia and has ordered the military to wipe out Wagner.
Meanwhile, they kissed and made up, so.
Wagner Group says that Putin made the wrong choice and that they're going to topple his regime. And Wagner reportedly controls at least 2 cities now, and Russia is blowing up oil depots in cities that Wagner controls. The Russian military is also airstriking the Wagner convoy on Russian highways as they make their way to Moscow. And this is there are reports that Wagner has shot down more helicopters and allegedly fighter jets, with some units of the Russian army also reportedly flipping to Wagner, and Wagner seemingly hell-bent on marching on Moscow. Follow to stay in the loop.
See, this is where, if you follow Philip DeFranco, right, and you watch his coverage of the war, you would have thought this war would have ended, like, after 1 month, because the way he shows it off is, like, Russia's always losing, Russia's getting fucked, their soldiers hate it, they're turncoating, the Ukrainians are winning everything, even though they're not. Like, Philip DeFranco's view of Russia, or how he presents Russia, is very, very bad, where, the way he presents it, you would have thought, like, wow, how is Russia still standing? The way he presents them, it's like they're so ass. Right? Now, again, this is where I don't know the reality. I don't know how strong or weak Russia is. I don't know where they're at in the war, because this thing has just been a fucking clown show. But, yeah, this whole shit just sounds crazy. Like, bruh, the Wagner Group, which was led by, a cart salesman, right? This guy was a cart salesman. Now he's the leader of Wagner Group. They marched on Putin. They're not marching anymore. Like, what is going on? Just what is going on with this shit? The United States is going to send them another $100 billion. Like, who the fuck knows? This is just crazy. But yeah, Russia's going crazy.
Something very strange is happening in Russia right now, and it has
Wow.
just had a bizarre final twist. You see, there was a
Whoa.
private group of people who were hired to fight alongside the regular Russian military in Ukraine, called
The
the
Wagner.
Wagner Group. They are not part of Russia's official military, have been paid to fight in a number of countries around the world, and are known as mercenaries. Now, here's where things start kicking off, because the group's leader, Prigozhin, recently accused Russia's top 2 generals of misleading Putin and the entire country over the initial reasons for the invasion of Ukraine itself, said the military had starved his troops of ammunition, and even carried out an attack on his fighters. He continued by claiming that a large number of his troops were killed, and vowed punishment to those responsible by marching his remaining troops to the country's capital, Moscow. And so,
Look at
he
this
did. It
shit.
seems that the Russian government took this very seriously, with Putin addressing the nation, asserting that Prigozhin's claims were false and that he'd stabbed him in the back. The FSB opened a criminal case calling for his arrest, while in Moscow they prepared for the arrival of his troops by beefing up their security. But the part that
what
doesn't
the
make any
hell?
sense is that Wagner has roughly 25 to 30,000 troops, as opposed to Russia's estimated 800,000. And that's without...
See, and this is where things just don't add up, right? 25k versus 800k, right? Obviously, not all of the soldiers are going to be there. Some of them are fighting Ukraine, obviously. But if it's 800,000, if Putin just sent his full army and just to, like, swath them, right? Just to literally just tidal wave them, he should have won this war in 2 weeks, like he said. But he's not, so what is he doing with the 800,000 people?
Without taking into account ammunition and military equipment. What this comparatively small mercenary group planned to do once in Moscow, we'll never know. Because guess what just happened in the last hour? The troops
They
made
kissed.
significant headway and got within 200 kilometers of Moscow before announcing that they've struck a deal will stop their march of justice and turn around. The question
Their march of justice.
everyone now seems to be asking is, did this march ever have the intention of conflict? Because the chaos the march alone caused in Russia could be seen as enough of a win for the Wagner Group. I mean, Russia's civil war is trending right now. Definitely not the united front a country at war would want to maintain. Whatever just happened today was either stupid or genius. And I guess we'll just have to wait and find out which one it was.
I honestly think it was just a big show from Wagner, and they were probably going to say, like, okay, we're going to do this. And obviously Putin got scared, and hopefully now he'll give them ammo. I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, like, all they wanted was to just get more support. And the only way they could do is by kicking and screaming and crying. So that's what it is. But yeah, I think this comment summarizes it very well from Mr. Question Mark here. Dude, what is going on in 2023, bro? Honestly. Anyway, let's keep going.
Wow, is Russia on the verge of collapsing? The
Okay,
Wagner
this is like the fucking Russia episode at this point.
groups declared war on the Russian Ministry
hell is what the fuck is this video?
of Defense after the Russian military struck the group with a missile. And the Wagner Group saying this is not a coup, but rather a march of justice. Meanwhile, Russian media is reporting that Putin is aware of the situation and that all the necessary measures are being taken. There are also
Bro,
unverified
what is
reports that
going
Wagner groups are
on?
open firing on Russian soldiers in the field, and that some Russian soldiers are backing the Wagner Group and open firing on their own.
Like, what the hell?
So Russia's anti-terrorism committee has opened a criminal investigation into the Wagner Group for incitement of armed rebellion. Reports say that Russia's special rapid response units are being flown to Belgrade from Moscow, and all military units in nearby Rostov have been placed on high alert. I'll keep you up to date as we get more information, so follow to stay in the loop.
So yeah, basically just the same shit the other guy said, but like, what the hell?
Workers in Texas are about to lose their water breaks just as the state is facing record-breaking heat waves. With Governor
Bro, this is where, now, I don't know how, obviously I think Philip DeFranco covers the Ukraine war a little biasly, because again, how he shows it, I don't know how Russia hasn't lost yet. But aside from that, I don't think he's too biased with other stuff. Obviously, everyone's biased, it's not just him, but it depends on the level, like I said. This is where I don't think he's biased with stuff concerning what we're about to see, but this is just so fucked, by the way. Like, think about it. When I think of minimum wage workers, I feel bad for them, right? I feel bad for them because a lot of minimum wage jobs, you work very hard for very little comparatively. And it's ironic because the higher you go, the less work you do. The more you get paid, the less work most of the time you end up doing comparatively. I'm not saying the importance of the work, I'm just saying the actual work. You end up doing less work for exorbitant amount of pay. I mean, just look at our senators. So this is where I think it's very unfair. So if you're already at the bottom, right, and you're now not allowed to drink water, right, not even just have a regular break, just have a water break, which is like, what, 1 to 2 minutes, maybe 5 if you're generous, right? And even then, that sounds like a lot. But they're taking that away and scorching heat. Like, this should be a human rights violation.
Greg Abbott just now signing a bill that'll overturn many local regulations.
This guy looks rich and evil. It looks like if you told him, like, you have cancer and, like, this guy had the cure, they'll be like, oh, that's so sad. Do you have $100,000 to, like, get the dosage of the cure for me? No? Oh, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. Like, he looks kind of evil.
Forcing cities and counties to adhere to state codes instead in areas like labor, agriculture, business, and natural resources. But the big issue that people have with this law is in regards to workers' protections and specifically water breaks. Because Texas is currently facing days of record-breaking triple-digit temperatures and many
Jesus Christ.
people, namely construction workers, are outside in the heat all day.
And this is what I heard. So this is where I think one of the times New York has actually come in clutch. So we're currently going through a heat wave right now in New York, and I decided to run in it like the dumbass I was, and I felt it. Now this is where we're hitting temperatures like, you know, mid 90s and stuff, right? Which comparatively to like hundreds, it's not far off, but there's a difference. Now we're in the 90s here, and I've heard that construction workers are allowed to stay home and not come to work when it's this hot. But you got people in Texas that are forced to work through this. What the hell? Like, how is New York gonna do better than you? That should be a disgrace.
And this bill specifically targets ordinances in places like Austin and Dallas where water breaks for
Austin,
construction workers have been
Texas.
mandatory for years. And there's a reason those safety standards have been in place, right? We're not talking about like, oh, we got to bubble wrap people. Texas put on a gold medal, #1 in heat-related deaths of workers. And even with being in
Bruh.
first place, it's believed that number is an undercount, with unions saying
Wow.
heat-related deaths are often recorded under a different primary cause. So unions
Just imagine you live your whole life and you die because you're not allowed to drink water.
are saying
This actually in my mind relates to just the whole economy or the whole society we have as a whole now. And I've said this before, like always. Back in the day, we couldn't make enough. We literally did not have enough food to go around, so people had to starve. There was no choice, right? The technology wasn't good enough, the environment wasn't good enough, whatever it may be. We have enough now, we just don't want to give it out. So they have the water. It's not like they have no water, they're running out of water. They have water, they're just not allowed to drink it, so they're literally dying. This is where I think we've become somewhat like sheep, and I'm a little guilty of this too, right? But for various reasons I'm not going to go into here. But I think the people of America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but I do know about America, they've become sort of like sheep. Because again, compare France, right? France, they raised the age from what, 62 to 64. Riots are happening, people are littering the street, being violent, causing protest. Our retirement age is like what, 67, 68 or whatever? Like, are you shitting me? And no one cares. Like, we're all depressed about it, but that's all we do. I think the United States has basically beaten us down so hard, we just don't want to fight back anymore. We're just like a lifeless husk getting rammed for all the money that's still in us. But this is where, like, it just doesn't make sense to me that people would actually sit there and listen to not be able to drink water, right? This is where people will listen to the stupid rule to the point where they die from it. It's like seeing like a razor, right? Or like one of those saw contraptions where it's like a blade spinning and someone tells you to walk into it. And because they're telling you to walk into it, you're going to keep walking into it until it kills you. Whereas some people would have sense to be like, no, I'm not doing this. What the hell's wrong with you? Like if someone tells me I can't have water and it's 100 something degrees, I'm doing physical labor. Either A, I'm going to tell them fuck off. I'm taking water. I'm not dying for this. Or B, I'm hiding the water anyway, and I'm gonna bring it just hidden. It's like I can't imagine. I don't understand how people listen to it, but I kind of can, like I said, because I'm a little guilty of this. But yeah, we're very much like sheep a little bit.
that with the loss of mandatory water breaks, deaths will become more and more frequent. One union official saying construction is a deadly industry. Whatever the
Yes.
minimum protection is, it can save a life. We are talking about a human right. We will see more deaths, especially in Texas's high temperatures. But at the same time,
But why? What's the reasoning for taking this away?
the supporters of the bill saying governments making water breaks mandatory is unnecessary, and
But what?
arguing that OSHA already requires businesses to maintain safe environments for their employees.
Yeah, bullshit. When you rely on the business to maintain a safe environment for the employee, you're basically giving the power to the bully on the playground. Like, it's so fucking stupid to me. And again, I'm speaking from like experience, right? My company tried to steal my COVID sick time. They tried to lie to me, they tried to steal it, and they tried to get me to work when I had COVID and take my PTO. And they're also underpaying me, and they lied about that too. Like, the companies are evil. This is where, again, I honestly think it's a thing of, oh, rich people helping rich people. Oh, don't worry, OSHA mandates the companies or whatever, the businesses, so it's okay. You know who's probably saying that? Some guy who owns a business who doesn't want water breaks.
However, right now there's actually no federal OSHA standard for heat protection. Workers in Texas are about
Crazy ass shit. Crazy.
Welcome to another glorious episode of
Oh,
Proof of the Priv,
oh,
where I prove that is some heavy privilege going on in the city. I ain't gonna say
privilege.
white, because they gonna say I'm a race beta.
Oh,
But how y'all building a private golf course in the slums of the Bronx when
oh,
right across the
that's where
street
I live.
is a methadone clinic and a men's shelter?
Oh.
Heavy privilege out here.
Yeah, honestly, it just doesn't make sense to me. A nice little view into my little slice of life, the BX Bronx, baby. But, yeah, this is just ironic. Like, these things down here that they're saying in the comments, like Jerome and Gun Hill, Pelham Bay, all these places are near me. Like, I can literally go to these places, and I've been there too. It's fucking wild. But yeah, like, who is golf gonna benefit? You literally have across the street people, like, you know, facilities for people who are getting high and people who are homeless. And they're like, what could we use here? Some golf. This is where I think the area is going to start to get gentrified and they're going to start to push the homeless out, which has been a common trend in the United States. Instead of fixing the problem, we're just going to take it and move it somewhere else. Which we've seen already in public with them putting like spikes on benches or having benches like shaped weird so you could sit but you can't lay on them. Spikes on the literal ground, which I've seen near my old college. Like, instead of helping them, they're making it just harder for them to be there, and they want them to just move somewhere else, out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, I could go on forever how the homeless are mistreated and how it's so sad, but this is the dark dimension. Let's go over more stuff.
Workers are not earning enough wages to afford the most basic thing,
No way.
a place to live.
Wow. And as we saw with average rent, it's true. So just to prove my point, let's go to Staten Island, right? Staten Island average rent, 1 bedroom. So, average rent in Staten Island for 1 bedroom is a lot more decent. This is a lot more decent than the Bronx was, at least. It's $1,600. It's still not anywhere crazy good, right? Like, this is still not good. This is what, over half of your monthly salary after taxes, which, you know, they recommend rent to not go above that. But this is New York. This is reality. But this is still way better. Still not good, but still way better than what it was comparatively. But oh my god, this is still high as shit.
According
It's Staten Island, so there's not a lot of space there, and it's very inconvenient to go there to any other sort of job.
to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, the average individual now has to work more than 100 hours a week
Bruh.
just to earn enough income to afford a 2-bedroom apartment rental.
Oh my god. Okay, so 100 hours a week, right? Let's divide that by 7. So that's 7 hours a day. You have to work 7 hours every day for the full... Wait, that doesn't make any sense. 100 divided by 7. No, that's 14. Apologies for that. You need to work 14 hours of the day, which I don't think is possible if you want to do anything else, like clean your clothes, buy food, or sorry, make food at home, even sleep. Because if you're working for 14 hours a day, assuming it's in one job, maybe you could do it, but you're definitely not going to get 8 hours of sleep at that point. Like, what the fuck? 14 hours, a little over 14 hours of work every day. Wow.
100 hours a week. The group looked at average rents across the country and determined that in order to have enough money to afford a 2-bedroom
So this
apartment
isn't even
and
in
other
New York.
necessities, the average worker needs to earn over $28 an hour.
Bro.
That's on average. In some states, it's way more.
New York.
In New York, you need to earn more than $40 an hour.
Holy
In
Jesus.
Florida, it's over $30 an hour. In California, it's more than $42 an hour.
Wow, that's worse than New York.
The current federal minimum wage is
$7.25.
just $7.25 an hour.
I fucking knew it.
There's not a single state in the country that offers a minimum wage that would allow workers to afford a 2-bedroom apartment working just 40 hours a week.
And there it
And
is.
50% of workers in the country don't earn enough during a 40-hour week to even afford rent for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yes.
It requires on average a wage of more than $23 an hour.
Wow.
bootlickers for capital like to claim that younger generations can't afford homes because they're spending too much money on avocado toast and shit. But no, it's because the ownership class's
Toast and
declining rate of
shit.
profit over the last few decades has forced it to more aggressively exploit workers, to a point now that wages aren't even enough to put a roof over their employees' heads.
And nothing else.
This is an untenable situation.
Yes.
And to learn more about what happens next, read Marx.
Ooh.
Workers.
Okay. So obviously this guy is definitely leaning towards something. I'm not going to say what it is, but essentially, as the comments can say here, I just want to point that out. Mind you, that's before all other living expenses. It's actually crazy. This is where I think the rich basically have they have two ideas of what's going to happen. Or I think I know what they want to happen. Either A, they want everyone to just keep taking it magically, which I don't think is realistic. I think eventually, after this happens to enough people for however long, I think eventually people are going to rise up. Whether it's going to be successful or not, who knows? But the other thing I think is that they literally just want these people, like they don't care about these people. They want them to die out, and they want there to just be less people overall. Because they just want to control more and more. This is where there was an episode on Netflix of, I forgot what it was called. Love or Sex, Death, and Robots or some shit. It was like an anthology series. And in one of the mini episodes, right, it showed little robots roaming around the Earth. And the Earth was destroyed, like humans basically killed themselves. And they showed like how humans kind of did it. And it was literally from greed. Like the rich basically didn't care about the poor. They only cared about themselves. That ruined everything. And then the rich turned on each other when there wasn't enough to go around for even them. And everyone just died. And it was like, wow. Wow, 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 wow. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, Dark Dimension. Let's go next.
This is what happens when you try and point out the flaws in a system. The system will attack you. And in this case, they're attacking me for my privilege, which I've been very open about. The fact of the matter is that the crisis that we're in has been manufactured. The reason why the media and the politicians don't like people like me speaking to people like you so easily
is because we say the truth and we can influence the masses' opinion. If there's still one thing they're scared of, or at least one thing they still look for, it's our votes and our approval. Because if they don't have that, they don't get into office at best, and at worst, they die. Again, we have some French Revolution type shit going on.
Through social media is that they don't have control over it. So when
there
they
it
don't
is. That's the big thing. Control.
What do? They attack the person. In this article, they don't talk about the ideas I put forward. They talk about my upbringing. They want to make an example out of someone like me, so that someone like you doesn't also stand up and speak out.
This is where it's very similar, and ironically so, to debates politically. So political debates, especially the presidential election running debates, those are such mud-flinging competitions. It's so asinine. It's so crazy. It's so funny. But it's like, I've said this before too. How can you take us seriously when you look at our presidential elections and you see all the shit talking and the nonsensory that's going on? It's so unprofessional. It's so like low hanging fruit. Like it's so bad. Watching Trump and like all the other candidates just argue with each other and try and one up each other in the debates, it's so funny. But it's like, how can these people lead the country? But then again, people show one side publicly and then another side privately. So don't judge a book by its cover, but kind of do. I don't know. Everything's just crazy. I might name this episode that, and this time let me remember my advice from last time. Fucking, this is just crazy. Let me write that down as the episode title.
Trying to trivialize the platforms that we're speaking to each other in and make it seem like...
Yeah, I feel like this is the step before they try and kill him. I feel like first they're going to denounce him. They're going to see if people forget about him. If they don't, they might try and kill him.
Social media is this juvenile way
and then I think that's what like is the next step in our society if you speak out against our overlords.
That you have. I'm not making videos to get likes, as the politicians keep saying. I just want people to be able to live happy, healthy, safe lives.
Yeah, I do
that,
too.
I'm being called a communist or a champagne socialist.
Oh, you know who else they called communist? The guy who paid his workers livable wages. Both Henry Ford and the credit card guy.
Or a privileged white...
And credit cards are evil anyway, so I don't have too much sympathy for that one, but he did increase the wage.
Kid with white guilt, but I'm actually just the guy that sees injustice and inequality in society and is thinking that maybe there's probably a better way to do this.
See, that's where I fully agree. This is where I don't think See, this is going to be a very hard topic to answer, but this is where I don't think skin color should matter. Obviously, in some respects, it definitely does. But overall, if you see injustice, it doesn't matter who you are, you should be able to call it out. We're getting to the point where you can't call out injustice because of some arbitrary reason, or somewhat arbitrary reason as your skin, then, or the color of your skin, sorry, or even how you look. Like, that should not matter. It's so stupid.
I love people and I love the planet, and that's what I'm going to focus on, and I hope you do too. We'll continue to rise up by being informed,
yes,
activated,
yes,
inspired,
yes,
and ready.
A lot of
to
buzzwords.
build a better country.
Yes,
this is what happens.
Make America great again. Yeah. So I fully agree with this guy. That's pretty much it. And who knows? We might find him dead soon. Anyway, let's keep going.
This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not. Nearly half of all young adults are single. Now, look at these numbers. 34% of women, twice as many, a whopping 63%.
Now, this is from the Pew Research Center. So again, a lot of things I question the validity of. This is going to be one of the ones where I don't question it too much. The Pew Research Center, they use actual statistics as far as I know. Now, again, they could be biased, who knows, but they're pretty reliable, I would say. So these are really scary.
3% of men. What explains that?
This is, again, just proof that women have it a lot easier.
Report said men
in some ways, not always.
Their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved,
yes,
sexually dormant,
yes,
friendless,
yes,
and lonely.
Yes.
They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage, sexuality, and
I can't even hear what the guy's saying because of the stupid song over it.
Relationships that afflicts all of young America. Other troubling statistics about men come from a 2021 study from the Survey Center for American Life.
What, is it that most men kill themselves? Is it that the majority of people who kill themselves are men?
They found the share of men who have 6 or more close friends, which in 1990 was 55%.
That's actually a big amount, wow. It's not as big as it should be. Like, 55 is near half, so you're telling me half of people in 1990 did not have a lot of close friends? Almost.
By 2021 had shrunk by half.
Holy Jesus.
Meanwhile, those with literally 0 close friends, which stood at 3% in 1990, has zoomed to 15%.
That's sad. This is depressing. It's so sad. In a lot of ways, in a lot of short-term ways, I think, just talking about relationships, I think men have advantages. Just talking about the gender dynamics for a second, it's way more accepted for a man to fuck a lot of women than it is for a woman to fuck a lot of men. It's the whole analogy with the key, right? The whole metaphor of the key, or sorry, no, it is an analogy, I think. The analogy of like, oh, you're gonna love a key that can open any lock, but a lock that opens to any key is worthless. It's basically like that. That should show you the gender dynamics of how we view it. This is where things are changing over time. Like, it's getting a little bit better, but I think in the short term, that's obviously something guys have over women, how it's viewed. But that's a short-term thing. Obviously, that matters in the moment, but the longer-term things that I think suffer or make people suffer more, especially men, because it affects us more, is stuff like this. Having 0 close friends, having, like, loneliness. Loneliness is a huge thing. Like, that is what makes or breaks some people, aside from sleep, too. Sleep and loneliness are the 2 things that will break a person. And the sad part is, men get, like, the least of that shit. It's so fucking sad, but yeah. Men have it hard out here, man. It's so hard. Anyway, let's go next.
Most gamers will agree that gaming would not be nearly as special if it wasn't for the people that we play with.
Yes.
But what is interesting about the...
Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention about the last video that I just forgot, ironically enough.
This headline from...
It's, I think a lot more people are becoming more isolated from social media. And I've said this before, like I say with a lot of things. But this is where, even though we're more connected than ever, right? We're more connected than we are back then. What's online is distractions. It's distractions, it's short form content, and it's very surface level interaction with people. I could go into a multiplayer game and tell these people, you know, like stupid shit, right? But we're not going to have actual conversations, and we don't care because we're going to leave each other in like 30, 20 minutes anyway. This is where, even though we're more connected than ever, we're more isolated than we've ever been. And it's baffling because logically it doesn't make sense if you think of it face level. But once you go past face level, it's very sad. Like, technology has made us just more like, isolated and introverted. It's very, very bad.
Most
And also, this comment said too, social media ruined it, unrealistic expectations. That's one of it.
Most gamers will agree that gaming would not be nearly as special if it wasn't for the people that we play with.
Yeah, it would still be fun if it didn't get corporatized.
But what is interesting about the friends we met through gaming is how uniquely it happened.
Oh.
We all met our online friends somehow, whether it was sending a friend request to someone that
This is Halo Reach, man. I used to play this shit. I remember I got this shit when I was in middle school, and it was so fun.
just popped off in your lobby or talking shit to each other, and then immediately becoming best friends afterwards. Another thing special about gaming is how
Modern Warfare 2, man. Look at this shit. That guy has the AC-130 emblem.
easy it is to connect with people that you would never otherwise meet. For many gamers, meeting like-minded people is something that we often struggled with, especially as kids.
Oh, yes.
But in the world of gaming where you can express
Black Ops 1 zombies, bruh.
yourself more freely, you will meet people that appreciate you for who you truly are.
True.
And while much of the world
And a lot of them would also call you racial slurs.
views online friendships as less meaningful than real-life
look at
ones,
Reach, man.
it was often the online friends that were there for us when no one else was. Most
But yeah, this is how it used to be back in the day. I'm not saying it's not still like this, but over time, even the culture online of how people interact has changed too. A lot more people that are older online. Ironically enough, there used to be older people online now or before, but not as many. It was a lot of young people, and as bad as young people are, because young people are fucking vicious to each other sometimes, they're also very on a similar on the similar side of the same coin. They're also very like open to going deeper, right? Not having surface levels things. But over time, because we've gotten older, because we've basically been weathered down by the world, and just how stuff has changed in general, it's not like this anymore. It's really sad. Gaming used to be so fun. It used to be so cool. It used to be novel. I remember as a kid, right? I used to have a DS. I think I still have it somewhere. But I used to have a DS, which ironically enough, some of the kids nowadays won't even know what that is, which is insane. But I used to have a DS, and I used to play Pokemon Pearl and Platinum on it, right? And my house didn't have Wi-Fi yet, shocker, right? So I would have to go to the window. I would have to hold my DS up to the window to steal the neighbor's Wi-Fi. And with that, I can go into like a global room on Pokemon and play little mini games with people and chat with them through emojis, right? And it was the Pokemon emojis. I thought this was such a novel, cool thing. I was like, wow, I'm interacting with people from all over the world, albeit in what way, right? But I was so open to it. I wanted to do more. And once I got to games where, I could actually type, I actually made some friendships with the people in there that didn't obviously last long because I'm introverted, but it lasted a good amount of time where it went past that, right? It went just past like, oh, hello, I see you in game, fuck you, you suck, I fuck your mother, right? It went past that. It doesn't really happen anymore, at least from what I've seen. It happens less. Anyway, pretty sad. This is how it used to be. Oh, all right, we got some slideshows here, so let's see this. So okay, I gotta mute this shit. This shit's gonna be like too loud. We have the Minecraft music on the background though, but anyway. $1 billion raised in raised in 2 hours to rebuild Notre Dame. Out of all the world's problems, the rich choose to fix an insured building. Huh. Okay, but it's not like billionaires could solve all of humanity's problems if they wanted to. They literally could, though, and this is true. This is true. Also, excuse me. Also, for the comparison, right? Look at the comments here where they put in perspective. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. I don't know if that's true or not. That could be bullshit, but it sounds real. You would need to make $27,000 a day for 100 years to have 1 billion. These people have multiple billions. Look at Elon, right? Elon has like hundreds of billions. Like, bruh. It's wealth we will never even begin to imagine. It's also not wealth he can freely use either, because a lot of it is tied up in stocks and bonds and stuff. Or not bonds, but stocks and this whole like Tesla shit. It's assets. It's not cash. It's not money. Now, granted, he does have a lot of money, but it's not freely available as much as we think it is. It's not liquid, but it's still a lot of fucking money. Anyway, let's see next. Do you realize how much $1 billion is? Said the dog. If you worked every day for $5,000 a day for 500 years, you still wouldn't be a billionaire. That's insane. Billionaires are not earned, they are stolen in the form of labor, lives, families, communities, ecosystems, and the environment. Let's not forget that, but I guess that's ecosystems. But this is true. No, what did they do to the fucking rhino? In front of its kid. We have already lost entire species to this unchecked greed. There's the keyword, greed. Let me actually write that down as the potential title. The key word is greed. Anyway, and this is just the beginning, human. 2,208 billionaires exist at this moment. Oh my god, that's a lot. More are joining their ranks now than ever. You also gotta remember though, a billion is eventually not going to mean what it used to. The same way a million doesn't mean what it used to anymore. And why is that? The magic word of inflation. Right, let's keep going. At that point, we're gonna have trillionaires though. Anyway. The question is not if billionaires should help fix the world, it's why we allow them to exist at all. Yo. Whose dog is this? Yeah, this just shows, like, people questioning stuff that doesn't need to be questioned and ignoring the actual, like, problem. Similar to the submarine incident. Anyway, pretty good video. Let's go. Let's go next. Okay, let's see this shit. So this has to do with League of Legends.
Riot has been using AI to ban players that use naughty words. You've probably noticed people getting automatically muted in-game now, and the occasional notification from Riot telling you someone's been reported and you did nothing about it. That's because Riot's new game agnostic text.
You know what's actually crazy? I've actually had this appear to me. So I was in a game, right? I played the game, I got out the game, and later on in the day, I got a notification from Riot saying, oh, a player in one of your recent games has been banned. You should do your part and report people that are, like, doing bad things.
Text evaluation service, or GATE, is an AI that reads all your chat messages in-game in real time and either blocks your chat before you say something bad or analyzes chat history after.
I mean, that's very easy to do. That's just a black word list. If you say a black word, you know, a blacklisted word, you're gonna get insta-banned. Like, I think we all know the words, I don't need to say them, right? This is where I don't think they need AI for that specifically.
After the game to decide whether to ban you or not. Riot claims that it's improved the speed of disruptive text disruptions 15 times and increased your enjoyment of the game by 7%. How do you feel about being banned by a bot?
So this goes into a lot of different topics, and you would think this being a League video, it wouldn't. Relate it back to society as well. So, number one, how the fuck do they know that this makes things 7% funner? I don't think that it's accurate to basically quantify happiness because happiness is different for everyone. So when they say 7% better, I mean, obviously there's a statistic that probably represents that, but I don't know if that's accurate for everyone. But aside from that fact, right, what does this show? For those of you who are unfamiliar with League of Legends, you don't really need to be familiar with it for this context, right? But there used to be a system called the Tribunal. In the Tribunal, you can have people, regular people like you and I, sign up and review other people's stuff and basically levy out justice, right? Now, obviously, if you abused it, you would get kicked out and stuff, but it was a basically by the people, for the people sort of thing. Now, they got rid of that, and they had just their internal team looking over games and banning people. And obviously that made things slower, but it happened. Now over time, you know, they've probably hired more people, but they've also implemented AI like they said, like this gentleman said. This is where AI is still not good enough to be perfect. I don't think it ever will be perfect. It could get close, certainly. But this is where you see more and more them taking out jobs, even though, you know, you didn't necessarily get paid in cash for this. You did get rewards for being a part of the Tribunal. But just imagine one day they keep downsizing because the AI gets better and better, and more people just lose their jobs, even at Riot, who just review games for toxicity and ban people. Like, I can fully see that happening because there's too much reliance on AI, and it's not just reliance on AI, it's the craving, again, going back to greed, it's the craving to just reduce cost at the expense of quality. So this is where, yeah, things might be worse with AI, but is it going to be worse enough for us to quit the game? No. So it's going to save Riot money overall, even though it's going to be slightly worse, and we're going to put up with it because, like I said, we're sheep. So it's going to be done regardless. Even if things are going to get marginally worse, as long as nothing else changes from our side, Riot's going to do it. They're just going to take the hit of, okay, it's worse, but we're still getting your money. And it's enough money to warrant it. It's sad. But yeah, that's how this relates to the real world, because I could see this happening with AI in real jobs. And it's already happening in League. But anyway, pretty nice video. Let's keep going.
I don't want to live forever.
Oh.
Stop spending millions of dollars to reverse aging.
Fucking Jeff Bezos.
We get that you're having a great time, but we're all really struggling.
Yeah, this is the sad part, right? This is where back in the day people had the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, oh, if you work for this much time, right, which is basically your whole life until retirement, then at least in retirement you can have some fun, right? You can relax and do stuff, which a lot of people have been fucked in the head, because retirement is all it's cracked up to be for a lot of people, because, you know, they're old, they can't do as much as they used to, their interests change, and sometimes people get so brainwashed with work that they end up being workaholics, and they end up having work become their whole life. So either when they're forced to retire from like health concerns or just from age, right, they end up not enjoying retirement because they're so used to working their whole lives. They're so used to going into the office and stuff. Now that might change because of remote work, who knows, right? Because I'm seeing all these articles, which I honestly question if they're real or not. And by real, I mean like, what are their intentions, right? So a lot of these articles I see, ironically, when I'm at work is, oh, you know, Gen Z is the generation that's lonelier than ever because of remote work. Remote work bad. It's making you guys lonely. You don't want to go into the office and socialize, this, and that. And that's true to an extent, but I can fully see that being made by business owners who are trying to get people to go back into the office. They're trying to, like, subliminally, and I know I'm going to sound like crackpot for this, and I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but at this point in time, if we're proving that aliens are real in Congress, which might be a spoiler for a future video, then maybe crackpot people aren't as fringe and as controversial or conspiracy theorist as we thought. Who knows? But anyway, excuse me. I lost my whole train of thought with that. But yeah, essentially though, this is where there used to be a light at the end of the tunnel for people. It wasn't a great light, but it was a light. Now there's no light at all, and we know there's no light. So why are we going to live our whole lives knowing we're going to have to struggle? It's one of the most depressing things out there, and that's where I think if society can't do a good job of masking how shit it is, and if I keep making these Dark Dimension videos and showing you how shit it is, hopefully people will wake up, be like, hey, this is how it is. It doesn't need to be this way anymore. We can change this. Hopefully.
Please, please, please just make healthcare more affordable.
No.
Inject yourself with young people's blood as much as you want, but do not lengthen my lifespan.
Wow.
I love my life, but I'm hemorrhaging money just to stay alive and
Ooh,
well.
I
It's
hate
all just
that.
a thin-veiled attempt to get more labor out of us.
Yep.
Dying is my one true shot at retirement. I
Yes.
don't want to work till I'm 105. I don't want to watch the world turn strange and unrecognizable.
Yeah, and then us having to fight over water and stuff. Who wants to see that? But you know, this is a really sad thing too, because I believe in the past we saw a video of an elderly woman in her 90s still working, which I don't know if that was by choice. I think it was out of economic necessity, because if you're that old and you can't work, we all know Social Security isn't going to pay enough for you to live on. So unless you were smart with investing, which back then is mainly for the rich and secluded, right? Like, you were an investor if you were in the investing circle. Now it's much more democratized. But back then it wasn't. So unless you invested, which you probably didn't, and if you're old, you're only getting Social Security and maybe a pension or 401k, maybe. But you're pretty much kind of shit out of luck if you're living that long, because you're going to run out of money unless you have an annuity. But, you know, those don't really exist either. So at that point, if you're that old, you're going to, like, not have enough money, you're going to become homeless, you're going to die pretty fucking quickly at that age. But yeah, shit's just fucked.
I don't want to see all the politicians I hate serve another 50 years. I want to be
Dinosaurs.
released from this pale flesh prison and liberated by eternal non-existence.
Yes.
I want to feel the crushing weight of time grind my bones into dust.
Yes.
I want the sweet release of death to take me away from subscriptions, taxes, and healthcare costs.
Yep.
I want to return to the cosmos unburdened by KPIs, compliance training, and quarterly reviews.
Absolutely.
Death is my only defense from the crushing weight of unchecked capitalism.
Oh, yes.
Well, back to creating value for shareholders.
Which I am a part of. Listen, I always say, if you can't beat him, join him. But anyway, yeah, this is very sad, right? This is where, again, this is our whole life, right? You only get one. YOLO. And knowing this is all it is so fucking depressing. Like, this is where it's sad that people are viewing death as, like, the final release where we can finally rest. because we have no other rest. It's like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, pretty depressing but accurate video.
I feel like we are moving in a direction where landlords are villainized and seen as taking advantage of a situation with tenants who maybe can't afford to buy a place and the landlord is profiting from it. How do you feel about that?
I love this guy reacting to it. He's just not having this.
It's true. What do you think landlords are doing? They're trying to make money on their money by using real estate.
And the other way they do it is through the stock market. How do you make money on your money? Real estate, stock market.
Tenants to pay.
It's the same way. What are the biggest sources of debt? I mean, kind of unrelated, but you know, the biggest sources of debt: student loans and mortgages. The third biggest source is kind of it's not guaranteed, but it's medical bills.
To pay their mortgage.
And you know, you could go your whole life without having a medical bill and you're pretty lucky, but if you don't, like if you have medical bills, those are like the biggest, like the third source of things that are going to cost you.
That's the way it is.
California is a perfect example. I've not been able to raise the rent on the properties in California for 3 years.
No.
Because of rent control.
Because of rent control.
I'm not sure what I'm like watching here. Like, should I be feeling sorry for these landlords not
These
being able to
rich
raise the
people.
rent on their properties? I mean, in this video, he's driving in a sports car around his rental properties, saying, you know,
Bruh.
I don't want to be villainized, and you know, maybe this is a problem nowadays. Yes, this is a problem nowadays. The main problem is the fact that because it was such a lucrative way of making money, a whole generation of people have spent their entire careers buying up property non-stop and being
BlackRock.
able to do that because the asset value was so low. And
BlackRock.
over time, they've built up a portfolio, and now they're able to use that money to continue to grow that portfolio. Whereas young people who are first arriving at the ladder have
Are fucked. They can't even get up the ladder.
no disposable money or assets to be able to afford those properties. And so you find yourself in this situation now where the vast majority of people are not being able to get onto the property ladder, and only wealthy people whose parents are helping them or whatever it may be are able to get onto the ladder. And so you get this situation where you've got this huge sort of landlord hierarchy now in the world. And now these two here, who, by the way, are allowed to raise prices broadly anywhere in the world as much as they want. And
Crazy.
these two here crying about the fact that they can't raise their prices.
Yeah, this is where you get used to a certain quality of life. This is again where the rich are separate. They're in their own world, right? A bad day for a rich person is like scratching their Bugatti. A bad day for a poor person is getting kicked out of their fucking house, right? Or their apartment, sorry. So obviously very vastly different things. The amount of bad they're feeling could be similar, but the situations are different, right? A rich person could be very, very upset that their Bugatti was scratched. That's real, that's real upsetness. And the poor person could be really upset that they're getting kicked out of the apartment. The upsetness can reach similar levels in terms of how much it's affecting the person, how strongly they feel it, but it's vastly different things. This is where I think a big part of it is entitlement, and again, it all goes, that's going to be the title for this episode. It all goes back to greed. The keyword is greed, / it all goes back to greed. Anyway, so this is where, because they're used to a certain lifestyle where they drive sports cars around, if they have anything less than that, that's kind of unacceptable to them. They're not content, and this just goes into human nature. They're not content with all of that shit, which is way above everyone else, because that's a new norm for them. That's the standard for them now. They want to go above that because humans are always going to want more. And it's sad. But it all goes back to greed, essentially. They're unwilling to go lower because they want more expensive shit, even though they don't need it. There's things you need, and then there's things you want. Now, obviously, nowadays, there's things you want that would almost be considered a need. Excuse me, at least if you want to live like a normal person in this society. Like internet, you kind of need internet. Technically, it's a want. You don't need it to live. But to live good and to live an actual life, you kind of need it at this point. The same thing with Wi-Fi. The same thing with a smartphone. These are things you kind of need now. So yeah, it's pretty sad. But yeah, it all goes back to greed. Let's go next.
Here's your daily reminder that America's a bullshit country with a bunch of artificially manufactured poverty.
Yes.
I was hanging out with...
And again, proving what I'm saying, it's artificially manufactured poverty. It doesn't need to be this way anymore. It is because they want it to be this way, because this is the most exploitative. This is the thing that gets them the most and us the least. And it's sad that that's how it has to happen. But again, it all goes back to greed.
Out with a Danish person last night and we started talking about food. And they said Americans don't understand food at all.
We don't.
And they were absolutely correct.
Yep.
Most Americans have never been educated about food, actually. And as a result, we have no idea what's even in any of the things we're eating or drinking.
Yep.
But in Denmark, like most of Europe, foods have to be real. They have to be legislated by law to be actually real and not filled with a bunch of partially hydrogenated bullshit.
So he's kind of not wrong. This is where, and I believe I've said this anecdote before, where I went to Greece, right? I used to go to Greece with my family as a child when things were cheaper. And when I went there, I used to be a chubby kid, and I'm pretty chubby now. I'm kind of a fat fuck now. And ugly. And bitchless. Womanless. But when I was a kid, right, and I didn't worry about all this stuff, I was still fat. Now, I went to Greece, and I pretty much ate the same things I ate here, but I lost weight, eating pretty much the same shit. Why? Because they just make it healthier over there.
Maybe this is why the US spends more and has worse health outcomes than Denmark. Denmark,
Wow.
a country of only 6 million people, makes a comparative amount of money per capita as the entire United States. Denmark has nearly 1/20th the poverty rate as the United States and 1/10 the homelessness rate.
Wow.
And in Denmark, school is free. In fact, they'll give you a stipend if you go.
Crazy.
Oh, also, healthcare is free.
Imagine wanting your people to learn and paying them to learn. Oh, you want to learn to benefit this country and yourself? You know, by benefiting yourself, by making money for yourself, you're also making money for a company which is providing a service which is helping the economy, right? In the grand scheme of things, you're helping everyone by having a job, technically. So this is where, oh, you want to help society, you want to give more to society with better knowledge, and, you know, you might be able to advance it, pay us money. Pay us money for you learn. It was one of the things growing up I never understood. Like, oh, I have to pay you for you to give me the opportunity to maybe pass your class. When you pay for something, most of the time you're getting a guarantee. Like, I'll give you an example with construction. Now, it might not be one-to-one, but here are the examples. So, I am paying a construction worker to build a wall. When I pay them, there's not going to be like, oh, you might get this wall, you might not, it might have some holes in it, you know, it might not be completely done, but, you know, we're going to take your money and however it ends out, right? Obviously, it's not one-to-one because school is, at the end of the day, sort of up to you as well, depending on the professor you get, mostly. This is where school, you're not buying any sort of guarantee, you're buying an opportunity. It's almost like a lotto. It's like a lotto that you can affect the chances of. And it's like so crazy to me.
Free too. Living in this country in the United States is a fucking shame.
It is.
It's disgusting, and we actually have nothing to be proud of.
Okay, I don't know about that. There is some things to be proud of. See, I don't like people who are just completely against it because there's always good and bad in everything.
Every single political rally should be a riot.
True. Anyway, yeah, pretty nice video. America sucks. A lot of other places suck too. America's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. We need to call out the bad to try and make it good.
Housing or right? What do you think? And let me ask you the same question, but in two different ways. The first way is, does everybody deserve to have a roof over their head regardless of their financial status?
I think so, yes. Does society think so, aka the politicians? No.
The second way I can ask that is, are strangers allowed to use the government to steal your hard-earned money so the government can give it to people that can choose to work or maybe choose not to work, but they still have housing? And oh, by the way, if you don't give them the money, they'll take it from you or they'll lock you up. What do you think? I want to know your opinion. And also, can we trust the government to give the money to the people that we actually want to help?
Yeah, no, they embellish that shit. So again, this is where over time, and I've mentioned this before, just trusting the government to be in our best interest has gone so far down, it's actually insane. Now, whether it's true or not, that could be debated. I believe it's like, you know, the government is working more and more in their interest, not in ours. Obviously, they have to work in our interest to an extent, but that extent has gone a lot lower than it used to be. Just over time, things have gotten shittier, as always. So this is ironically where I've actually experienced this, believe it or not, I shit you not, Ripley's believe it or not, today. Today I was talking to my coworker. She told me about, you know, we were talking about COVID, we were talking about sickness, we were talking about the US. And she was like, oh, you know, I still wear a mask. I'm like, oh, why do you wear a mask? She's like, oh, believe it or not, I'm not vaccinated. I'm like, wow, I mean, pandemic is over. COVID's not really a thing anymore. Like, I don't remember anyone who got COVID recently. I feel like COVID disappeared off the face of the earth. But I told her, like, wow, that's crazy. Why didn't you get it? She's like, I don't trust the government. And this person is not stupid. They're a smart person. But they're like, I just don't know about the government anymore. I'm like, wow, it really is real. A lot of people don't trust the government anymore. It's crazy. And it's also a good thing because eugenics happened in this country. Anyway, let's keep going.
This house right here was just listed for rent for $5,900 per month.
Bruh. I mean, not gonna lie, it's a decent house, but 5,900. That used to be back in the day the size of like a good apartment in like a building or like maybe a condo. Like let's just round it to 6 fucking K. At that point, that's more expensive than a mortgage. How much is that a year? 5,900 times 12. That's almost freaking. That's over 70,000 a year in rent, bro. Whoever is like asking for this has to be smoking crack.
Unfortunately, this is the kind of greed we see destroying.
Oh, this is a young guy. Oh, well, actually, I don't know if he's young, but he looks kind of young.
So many wonderful family neighborhoods here in the town I live in.
And as you can see, it's just in a plain Jane, regular single-family
Dude,
house.
this literally looks like a cul-de-sac from like Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
Neighborhood.
According to the listing, in order to move in here, you're going to have to pay a $3,000 deposit. That's on top of your first month's rent of $5,900. So with a renting price of $5,900 per month, or about $6,000, that means to conventionally qualify,
you need like 10K.
2.5 times the rent, you'd have to bring in about $15,000 a month.
What the hell?
Or over $175,000 a year to rent this single-family home. It gets even worse. Now, when we take a look at this listing, you see that it's just pretty much an average house.
See, this is where he says an average house. This does not look average to me. Granted, I'm from the Bronx, right? I have a warped view of things. I'm in New York. But, that looks pretty good.
Doesn't have a beautiful view or anything special.
But yeah, no, there isn't anything special about it. This is what I hope would be the standard for people.
3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,700 square feet. But if we scroll down, if you're the type of person that wants to have a dog, you can see here in the listing, they'll allow it, but you have to pay them a $1,000 fee and pay them another $1,000 deposit.
Wow. See, it even says with good references. What references do you need? What, are you gonna call my friend, ask how my dog acts? What the fuck?
That, on top of the $6,000, plus the $3,000 deposit, plus this $2,000 means $11,000 for you to move in for 1 month. And when I check other listings on Zillow, I'm surrounded in this neighborhood and the neighborhoods nearby by houses roughly the same size or bigger for between $2,500 and $4,000 a month. What do you guys think? Do you think we should be renting out single-family homes like this on a monthly, a weekly, or even a nightly basis? What do you think it's doing to the community?
Insane. I don't even know what to say with this. This is crazy. Oh, Jesus. Okay, that's copyrighted as shit. That's Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift, if anyone's interested. We'll put it really low. I actually like this song. Anyway, old school PTE. So, God fucking damn it. What some business owners still don't get about hiring and keeping Gen Z. So, I actually remember this comic. Even though I sent it to myself over a month ago, I actually remember this shit. So, here's something I heard a business owner say recently. Gen Zs are not loyal jumping from job to job, which is somewhat true. They're not, right? Because Gen Z, you have to earn our loyalty, at least for some of us. Or if you're like me and a bitch, you stay in the job anyway because you need money. As business owners and ex-employees, we have a different opinion. Yeah, I gotta mute this shit, it's too loud. Gen Zs are not disloyal, rather the truth is many businesses have not earned our loyalty. Wow, that's exactly what I just said. It hasn't even been a year. Bye. This is where I really commend my generation, and who knows how this is going to affect them in the future. Maybe it might not at all when AI takes all of our jobs anyway. But this is where a lot of people are saying if AI doesn't take our jobs, this is actually a really bad thing to do for Gen Z, because you're basically showing future employers you're a flight risk. Why would they hire you? So there's goods and there's bads, but I commend them for just having the balls to do it. Like, oh, this job sucks. I'm not even giving my 2 weeks. I'm just up and leaving. Fuck you. And most of the time, I feel like this is actually the way, as long as you're not like financially like at your ends, to actually get a good job and get a good decent pay. I actually think this is the right way. I'm too scared to do it, but that doesn't mean it's not correct in my eyes. So in fact, here are some of the things they do that discourage us from staying long term. Depressing salaries. I deal with this. Companies often don't give us increments automatically. They find all sorts of ways to justify paying us lower salaries. So this is where, even though wages are good, right? I think wages help guarantee certain things if the wage is enough, granted. Because if you work on commission, what if you're like not good at, doing commissions and you don't make a lot of money, right? At that point, it's merit based, which is still good, right? Like the better you do, the more you should get, which is true. But this is where I believe that instead of paying us wages, and I'll give you an example. My job made at least $100 million last year. How much did I get paid? Like 30 something K, right? 30 something K because I'm near minimum wage. 100 million. Now, granted, they obviously have other expenses, but 100 million from one person, like they've made way over 100 million. So you're telling me like they can't afford to pay me more? It's not that they can't afford it. It's that, again, it all goes back to greed, right? This is where I don't want it to be commission based, but in a way it's going to be commission based, but overarching. It's like a hybrid way. Imagine if every employee got a percentage of how much profit the company made. So think about it like this, right? Let's say you have 10 employees, right? And I agree to each employee, okay, each employee, I'm going to give you 1% of whatever our profit for the year is. So let's just say our profit is 100 million, right? Let me type that into my calculator real quick. So 100 million times 0.01. That means you're making $1 million. And guess what? I'm still bringing home the 90% as the employer. Obviously, after expenses and stuff, let's just say that's like 50. You're still bringing home 50 million, right? This is where if you incentivize your workers with percentages based on how good the company does, at that point, they're going to be incentivized to do better for the company because they're going to make more. Now, when it's commission-based, sometimes it's uncertain. This is where I'm just providing a rough draft, but I've thought about these things. It's like, hourly wages are good in some aspects, and again, there's good and bad to everything, but hourly wages, at least right now, are too low, number one, and number two, they don't incentivize working harder because a lot of the times the reward for hard work is just more work. It's not better pay. So you're incentivized to do just enough to get by, but that's it with hourly wages for the most part. But yeah, this depressing salary one is true for me. Next. One thing that really grinds our gears, overemphasis on our last drawn salaries instead of paying us what we're worth now. But you're asking for a 30% raise from your last role. Well, yeah, inflation. The result? The tried and tested way for Gen Z to get on an increment is to job hop. No way, please, I'll give you the salary you wanted. Too late, see ya. The moment you make that counteroffer, it's too late. You should have treated us better from the start. Damn straight. Bad work environment. I suffer from this too. Here's something we wish y'all knew. If you can't pay us well, at least treat us well. That's a big fact. If you're going to have us be miserable and you're going to pay us like shit, I fully believe that place should just burn. Like, this is where it's highly people dependent too. It's dependent on who you work with. But I fully believe that a lot of people, and I've actually been hearing this a lot more recently too, a lot of people would rather take less pay to, number one, enjoy what they do, or number two, enjoy who they work with. Enjoying who you work with is one of the biggest things about success in a job. It honestly is. Even if it doesn't pay as much. A lot of people would take the pay cut if they could, right, economically, to work with people they like. Anyway, it's crunch time, boys. Next break is in 3 weeks. What you lack in money, make up with benefits. Yeah, right. Flexibility and culture. Work from home, more leave days, a caring boss. All these things matter to us, damn straight. And again, my generation is kind of like a snowflake generation. Not saying that's bad or good, but we kind of are more sensitive to things. So we definitely appreciate this. Only those without options will tolerate low salary, bad culture, no benefits, and a bad boss. Yeah, that's me. Because businesses these days aren't exactly loyal either. In the past, businesses rewarded employees for staying long, yeah, with like 401ks and stuff. Now those don't exist. People could climb to the very top staying in the same firm. Excuse me. Employees were rewarded with large bonuses and pensions. Yeah, right. Not anymore. It made sense to be loyal. But not anymore. It's harder to rise through the ranks staying in the same company. They often hire externally instead of from within. And the worst part is, as we've seen before, they lie about it too. A lot of companies lie about what they do. They always use these like phrases of, oh, we love promoting from within. It's not only like a, seen as something that's good. It's expected for you to be promoted if you stay with us. We want you to do more. Yeah, bullshit. Anyway, they're helicoptering in a new manager. In addition, ambition Gen Zs often find their path to promotion blocked by dinosaurs. Being a dinosaur is a state of mind, not a reference to physical age. There are plenty of older workers who adapt to keep up with the times. Last but not least, pensions are a thing of the past. Yep. But you know what? We get it. You have to maximize profits and efficiency, as well as guard your shareholders' interest. Be a shareholder! Businesses are indeed challenging to run, with overheads, rents, salaries, and whatnot. This is true. This is true. But here's the thing. In the same way you have to protect your interest, we have to live our lives as well. So that's basically the moral of the story. Yes, there are more of us than there are of you. You might think we need you more than you need us. Excuse me. But here are the things to consider. 1. It costs more to hire new staff than to retain them. I've said that before. It's good business sense to keep good people within the company. Anyway. 2. You want skilled and talented people to stay, and these people have options. So you can see he's like negotiating for other people, right? He's like getting different offers. At that point, if you like the company culture and the pay's not that bad, you'll probably stay with the company rather than go somewhere new. And number 3, the people who stay with you no matter how bad you treat them, that's often not loyalty, it's lack of options. It's so sad, but that's true too. Don't get us wrong, many companies can probably get by okay without retaining driven, talented Gen Zs. Loyalty is certainly not the end-all be-all. However, if you're wondering why your best people don't seem to stay, then the issue mentioned here probably has something to do with it. Ooh! After all, how can you ask people to be loyal if you haven't been loyal yourself? Stay woke, employers. Damn. Pretty good. I love the woke salary, man. I feel like his comics are really good. Next. Oh, shit.
Challenge for us is how do you retain people? Because many a times the freshers, when they come in, within 6 months, 1 year after you train, they leave.
So literally what we were just talking about, like the people are joining and they're quitting too fast.
So that has been a big challenge which we are still trying to address. We were thinking of looking at some kind of a retainership, at least 3 years.
Won't work.
Huh?
Won't work.
Won't work.
I don't know. So I'm just
saving you time.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So that's why I was just trying to figure out how do we do this.
So I want you to understand this. The world of business has seen 3 generations.
Yes.
The Industrial Revolution,
oh, yes.
the Information Revolution, and now we are in this revolution called the Social Revolution.
So I'm familiar with the first two. I never heard of the social one. Obviously, the Industrial, we all know when that was, when the factories came out. The Information Revolution is the internet. Now people know how we're getting fucked.
Industrial Revolution, people took a job for survival. They wanted basic necessity of roti, kapda, makan.
Yo, he said roti.
So they went in and they worked in a workplace and
they got their roti.
They didn't leave that workplace even if the boss was abusive.
Because they needed the roti.
Even if the boss would physically beat them up, people would not leave. That was the era of boss is always right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because
that's how my grandparents were too. You do what the boss says, even if it's not your job, you listen. Obviously, if it's unlawful, they're like, okay, at that point, if he's hurting you or you're hurting someone else because of him, don't do it. But they're of the mentality of, oh, that's your boss, you just got to do it.
Opportunities were less.
That's how it was for them. If you didn't do it, you got fired because there was no labor laws, and you didn't eat because there wasn't enough food back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is pretty much the grandparents of today's workforce.
Oh, look who I
then
mentioned.
Came the Information Revolution, where all these IT companies, brands started building, and the workforce then came to work not for survival because their parents took care of survival.
Pleasure.
This workforce went to work for standard of living.
Oh.
Basically, get a good enough salary to pay the house EMI, the car EMI, children's education loan.
Yes.
Pretty much your generation. You went to work for that, for standard of living.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now in this generation, loyalty reduced. Now the truth is that loyalty never existed in the first place.
That's true.
Loyalty didn't exist.
Yeah, because, again, literally, we heard what he said, right? If what he's saying is true, we heard him saying, like, the bosses would literally beat the employees. Which is kind of funny to think about. They just beat the employees while they're working.
No option. This generation, Information Revolution, got option. If they got a better quality of workplace and they got a better pay, then people would jump a job, right? Now this was the Information Revolution. Then came the third revolution. After 2008's recession, Information Revolution died. Today, information is available for free. You can learn coding on YouTube.
True.
You don't have to. It's no longer a hidden knowledge.
You don't have to go to school.
So, you need to.
There's a lot of things like you can learn online if you really have the grit for it. But this is where, again, I think society is grinding us down, short form content and all the such. I think we're losing a lot of our grit.
And now we live in a digital...
Or maybe it's just so hard, like, the amount of grit needed is just too much.
Revolution or a social revolution where everything is social. Which means today's workforce, they don't care about survival. Their grandparents took care of that.
True.
They don't care about standard of living. Their parents took care of that.
True.
Even the labor does not care about standard of living anymore because even labor has Dish TV and Tata Sky in their house.
Wow.
So if you say, I'll cut your pay, or if you say, I'll bind you with a contract, they will say, thank you so much, I'm finding another job.
It's true.
Today's workforce needs something else.
We need,
they want
we need, yeah, I was about to say quality of life, but, well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say we need meaning. We need, like, an actual good reason.
Quality of life, not standard of life. Standard of life, parents took care.
This is where I actually disagree, though, because at least in New York, right, we don't even have the standard of life. We have to work just to survive, and it's not good how we're surviving, but we have to do it. We're kind of back into the Industrial Revolution.
Today's workforce is thinking quality of life, which means quality of workplace, which means quality of job, quality of environment, quality of role, opportunity, learning, and rewards. All of that. Unless you don't have a mechanism for that, you will always grapple with this retention.
Yeah, so he doesn't really give a solution, he just points out the problem. But still, I think it is very accurate. I think the older generation set us up, and aside from New York and other select places of America, and maybe the world, this is pretty much how I think it could work, how it ends up working. Our grandparents took care of survival, quality of life got taken care of by our parents, and still continues to if your parents support you, and you're just focusing on, like, you know, even more pleasure of life, essentially. Pretty good video.
Here's the real
Hey, Robert Reich. I love Robert Reich.
reason Social Security is in danger that nobody's talking about.
Oh, this is going to be a good one. I like this one.
It's not just because too many boomers like me are retiring.
I remember what I've said before. As much as I love Robert Reich, this trend of old men finally figuring it out, and women, is sad because they're so old, it looks like they're going to die soon, and they're finally realizing, wait, things are not good. And it's the old people who are in power.
It's because of inequality.
Whoa!
Now, I don't want to alarm you. Social Security is still helping us oldies enjoy our golden years, mostly on the pickleball court, but only for so long. Social Security is one of the most popular and successful government programs ever created.
And remember, right, these things that are so popular, so successful, they're often the things that get the most pushback and the most backlash. Again, I'm always going to go back to the example. Look at Henry Ford and look at the credit card company that we went over a couple episodes ago. Massively successful at what they did. What they implemented worked. It worked. Yet it was chastised. It was said, this is evil, this is anti-capitalist, this is communist, this is Marxist, this is what it is, right? But look at how good it actually was. It's challenging the status quo, and the status quo isn't good, but it benefits those who are implementing it. So of course, the people who are implementing it are gonna be adverse to anything else that's new, that's gonna change it, that might be better for everyone else, and actually better in reality. People are afraid of change just in general.
Not only helping retirees, but it's also keeping 26 million people out of poverty. Yet here's the problem. It's going to run out of money before you can ever receive it if the rich don't start paying their fair share.
And I've said this before, and I'm actually going to mention an anecdote about this that I forgot to say with Elon Musk and Zuckboy before, but we're going to get to it. Hopefully I remember it.
The trustees of Social Security, of which yours truly was once a member back when I had thicker hair, say the program will only be able to pay full benefits until 2033. After that...
See, and that also lends more credence to Robert Reich here, because he was on the fucking government. Like, are you kidding me? How we... Like, this guy's speaking out against it because he knew about it. He was there. He did it.
Social Security will only be able to dole out roughly 77% of benefits. Why? It's not the reason that many seem to think.
And we're going to have more and more baby boomers who are going to be collecting Social Security.
So, I want to put out something here, right? This is a common thing that we've seen before, right? You might be privy to this now. And I've said this. They are blaming the people, right? The people are the problem. There's too many people. There's too many people alive. People are living longer. We're going to run out of money for that reason. That's not the real reason. The real reason is the rich are not paying their fair share. And what does this relate to that we've gone over before? Pollution and global warming. A lot of people like to, toss around the idea that, oh, if we just turn off our AC like I'm doing now because I'm kind of cold, if we turn off our AC and if we use the stairs instead of the elevator, we're saving electricity, we're saving the environment. Yeah, that's true, that's cool, but I believe this statistic was at least 80% comes from like the top companies in terms of pollution. Pollution comes from, the top of the top, and 80% of it, the majority of it comes from them. So where, yeah, your thing will have an effect, but it'll be so little and frankly so kind of insignificant, it really won't matter.
Boomer retirees like me,
but they want to make it seem like you're the one at fault so they don't have to change.
Might be so.
But in the end, they're hurting everyone, not only like us, but also themselves, because the environment affects everyone. So I don't know why they're doing this. It's a very short-term side of view. It's so stupid.
Soaking up some sun, but we're not soaking up all of the program's funds.
Exactly.
The Social Security trustees anticipated the boom in boomer retirements.
Wow.
This is why Social Security was amended back in 1983 to gradually increase the age for collecting full retirement benefits from age 65 to age 67.
Yo, where's the revolution?
That change is helping finance the boomers' retirement. What did the trustees fail to anticipate? A much larger chunk of the nation's total income is now going to the top.
Look at this. Look at this disgustingness. My God.
Compared to decades ago.
Decades.
But income subject to the Social Security payroll tax is capped. No dollar of earnings above the cap is taxed.
Stupid.
The cap in 2020.
So wages have basically increased like to exorbitant amounts, but the amount that they collect from those increased wages has not gone up at all. And there's a fucking mosquito in my room and I'm getting pissed off.
Free is $160,200. So as the rich have become far richer, more and more of the nation's total income has escaped the Social Security payroll tax.
Very true.
For example, a CEO earning $20 million a year pays Social Security taxes on roughly 1% of their income.
Wow.
While a worker earning under the cap pays Social Security taxes on 100% of their income.
Yup.
As more
How is
of the
that
nation's
fair?
income has gone to the super rich, logically, a larger share of the nation's income goes untaxed for Social Security.
This is the thing that literally just makes sense. I don't know how anyone can argue this, and I honestly believe that if they do try and argue this, they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes, right? I'm all for hearing the argument and having an open mind, but I feel like there's no other way that this is like described accurately aside from this. Like, this is ridiculous.
This is why widening inequality has cost the Social Security Trust Fund an estimated $1.4 trillion since 1983. The solution is obvious. It's time to scrap the cap and make the rich pay more in Social Security taxes.
Pay their fair share.
One plan introduced in Congress would eliminate the cap on earnings over $250,000 and also subject investment income to Social Security taxes. It's estimated that this would extend the solvency of Social Security for the next 75 years.
Wow, so my generation might actually get it. So this is where I question why the fuck there was a cap in the first place. Why do I think there was? Because the rich put it there because they didn't want to pay more taxes. Even though they can afford to. Again, look what he showed, right? A McDonald's worker pays 100% tax on their income. Or just not 100% tax. 100% of their income is subject to the tax. And the tax ends up being like something not really that big either. It's like, let's actually check it. Let's check it. Social Security tax percentage. 6%, right? So the rich aren't willing to part with 6% of their wealth, right? Of their earnings, whatever it is. It's so stupid. Because the cap ends out making it so it's less than 1%. And I'm going to say an anecdote about Elon and Zuck boys.
Taxes on 93% of American households. This is where you come in. Share this video and help spread the word about the real threat to Social Security.
I'm doing my part.
And what can be done about it. If we want to ensure Social Security's long-term future and that working people can retire with dignity, we must make the wealthy pay their fair share.
Yeah, as if that's going to happen. You know what you do? Copy the wealthy, invest in the market. And then do insider trading. But yeah, this is really crazy. Very true. Things that just make sense but are not going to happen. Very sad. But yeah, so back to the anecdote with Zuckboy and Elon. This is where they make so much money. Do you know how fast they hit the cap? Now, excuse me, Jesus Christ. Wow, that was the first burp this whole video, I think. And I've been eating too in the background. This is where I believe they hit the cap in about 17 seconds. In 17 seconds, they will hit like the social security cap, and you know, that's it. They've paid their social security share. How is that fair, bruh? They can probably fund social security cap. Like if you take all the billionaires and tax them as we were taxed, without the stupid cap limit, social security would be like saved. They'd be done. It's fucking insane. Anyway, let's go next.
The Teamsters announced on Wednesday that
Hey, look, we saw this guy before.
A strike against UPS is imminent.
Ooh.
The union, which represents about 340,000 UPS workers, turned the tables on the company and told it to present its last, best, and final offer by June 30th.
Oh, shit.
Current labor agreement expires July 31st, but the union needs time to consider the offer, send it down to membership for their consideration, and ultimately a vote. Teamsters members already voted to authorize a strike if no deal is reached. O'Brien added some punch to the ultimatum, tweeting, quote, "Despite the play nice public persona, UPS has ignored our demands at the table. They want to keep screwing our members while making billions off their backs. Not
I mean, everyone's doing that. Let's be real.
Fucking happening.
Oh, damn.
We're putting an end to the disrespect. You have 48 hours to provide the last, best, final offer."
Ooh.
A prior offer submitted by UPS asked workers to make concessions on some pay provisions. The Teamsters called it, quote, "appalling," particularly for a company that has made billions over the last few years.
Yes, sir.
The union is already hosting practice pickets in preparation for a strike. Members of the Local 89 in Louisville simulated picketing outside of Worldport, the largest sorting facility in the U.S.
Yes.
Chapter's communications director told USA Today that if a strike does happen, they plan to be outside Worldport 24/7 with 10,000 members rotating to pick up shifts.
Wow.
UPS transports more than 20 million packages a day, accounting for a decent chunk of all U.S. commerce, about 6%.
That doesn't
So a
sound
strike
decent.
will bring disruption. But it's UPS that will suffer the most, because without its workers, it can't earn a profit.
And the shareholders will not like that.
And a strike is the only way to get the suits to understand that.
Yep. Yet another example of why we need unions. So, this situation has actually had developments. I'm not going to spoil it, and hopefully my future self remembers not to spoil it in a future video. But, this is where this shit is, like, pretty fucking crazy. I'm not going to say how it ended out, because I sent myself a video about it, like, I think, very recently. So, we're going to see how this ended out, but let's just say, you know, unions are important. Let's just say that. Very nice video, though. I think we've talked about the UPS thing happening anyway.
Dad's best reaction.
Okay, so I added this in just for comedic purposes, but I love these people. This has nothing to do with the dark dimension. If anything, the only thing it has to do is just seeing this guy get terrorized by his son while, like, working. But I guess that doesn't have to be dark, because maybe he secretly likes it. It's bonding with his son.
Part 4.
He just fucks with him.
Fucking asshole.
He took his meatball. He just gave up.
Put it back.
He's like, no, put it back. He's gonna eat it. He gave up. Oh my god, someone's helping him. Oh!
What the
He looks like an egg. I love the way he cursed.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. He's not that angry in that one. When he gets so pissed, it's funny. Like he's about to hit him. Oh, this one's good.
Fuck off.
Like these are more
Dad's
like
best
innocent. The other reactions they have are so much funnier. And look at the channel name, "Pissing Off My Dad." It's so good. Anyway, that was just to lighten the mood a little bit. Let's keep going. Okay, so I guess we can't hear the woman, but as the caption said, Mayor Adams is gonna go off on a woman, asking like, "Why is rent crazy?" So she's talking about rent guys. I know it's hard to hear, but just said the real estate controlling him. And she's saying, why are we having these rent increases? Why are you allowing this?
Okay, first, if you're going to ask a question, don't point at me and don't be disrespectful to me. I'm the man
Okay, so he's a baby.
of the city, and treat me with the respect I deserve to be treated.
So he says he deserves respect. What respect do you deserve if you said you're going to control rent and you didn't?
I'm speaking to you as an adult. Don't
Obviously not. You're speaking like a child now.
stand in front like
Well, you're using vocabulary as an adult, but you're being childish.
you treated someone
I like how people are clapping for him too. Like, what the fuck?
that's on the plantation that you own.
And of course, he made it about race.
Give me the respect I deserve and engage in a conversation up here in Washington Heights. Treat me with the same level of respect I treat you. So don't be pointing at me. Don't be disrespectful to me. Speak with me as an adult because I'm a grown man. I walked into this room as a grown man, and I'm going to walk out of this room as a grown man.
Okay.
I answered your question.
Oh, he answered her question. Wow. New York, everyone.
What I'm about to show you is not because I want to hurt people.
Okay. This is the video I've been talking about. This is the video where we're going to see, he's going to show us the wages of the Great Depression. And this is, you know, I've always said this. Be careful what you hear. People could just be bullshitting. They could be confident. Let's look at this.
It's not because I want to make you depressed. It's not because I want to make people sad or down on themselves. I'm only doing this because we need to bring awareness to this situation. Because right now, Americans are being gaslit into thinking we're just getting lazier and we're too entitled and we're expecting too much. The Great Depression is widely considered, at least where I went to school, as the worst economic time in American history. I want to show you the numbers on what the average income was during the Great Depression to now. Just for reference, the Great Depression is considered to be in this time period, 1929 to 1941. I looked at every single year and looked at what the worst year was. The worst year was 1930 economically for American households. So 1930, the average net yearly income of Americans, this is for one American, not a family, this is for one person, annually was $4,887. Let's look at how much money that is in today's money. I'm just gonna let this sit for a second. 1930, $4,881. I know I forgot it was a 7.
You know what the worst part is about this? I believe this.
Whatever. 2023. This is for one person, not a family. One person. $88,000 a year in today's money. That was their depression. If that's a depression, look at what we're doing. In 2019, and this was the average income for one American in the United States. Just in case you wanted to see the exact number, I went ahead and converted that over. I even rounded up to 32,000 and put it in for 2023 from 2019, and it's 38,000 a year for one American. We are in a Great Depression. I mean, I said in another video, we're in the worst economic time in American history. We have the lowest purchasing power we have ever had in American history.
What's ironic? I've actually been hearing the opposite. I heard our purchasing power is strong. Now, why is it strong? It might be because of the rich people, but I heard it was strong. Because these numbers can get vastly skewed by the highest of the high and the lowest of the low.
And they want to make it seem like I'm lying. This is the numbers. One more thing, because I don't want to end on a negative note. I want everyone to remember something. If you're working full time and you found a way to pay your bills, you're never hungry, you got clothes on your back, a car that you can drive, you deserve massive applause for that. And I don't care what anyone says. Listen to this guy, what a baby. Look at him getting in his feelings. I don't care. All of us collectively that have made things happen under these conditions to take care of ourselves. Some of us have kids, take care of our families, wives, brothers, sisters, anybody. Even just taking care of yourself. If you've managed to make that happen, you honestly, cheers to that.
You're a rock star. Anyway, we're going to get to the exposed video soon, so I'm not going to say too much.
I think I found the real reason why the American Revolutionary War was started, and I think history...
Okay, so we're going to skip this for a second. Hold on.
You may be wondering...
Wow, 500... Okay, this is the exposed video. We're going to skip those other videos real quick. We're going to get to this.
150,000 likes, but this video is complete misinformation. So I'm taking a second attempt at replying to it.
I'm only doing this because we need to bring awareness to this situation.
Yeah, me too. Okay, 2023 versus Great Depression. At the height of the Great Depression, average income was...
I want to show you the numbers on what the average income was during the Great Depression to now. Just for reference, so 1930, the average net yearly income of Americans, this is for one American, not a family, this is for one person, annually was $4,887.
And can you convert that to today's dollars for me?
Let this sit for a second. 1930, $4,881. I know I forgot it was a 7, whatever. 2023. This is for one person, not a family.
No, wrong, bad. And he deleted my comments on his video, so I know he knows what he's saying is wrong. The $4,000 average income figure comes from this document, Statistics of Income. You can see it's got the same number here. The average net income for 1930 was $4,887 for all returns.
Now here's the problem. It's average, not median.
But notice the number of individual tax returns in 1930 was 3.7 million. With a population of 123 million, that works out to about 2% of people filing tax returns. Compare that to today, where nearly 70% of the population files a tax return.
Yeah, you kind of have to now.
What we're looking at is not average income of 1930. We're looking at average income of the top 2% of income earners, the people who were required to file their taxes. In the 1930s, you had to file your taxes if you had $1,500 as an individual, or $3,500 as a married couple,
back then, that was a lot.
Or $5,000 gross. And again, 2% of people met those requirements. So he's comparing the top 2% in 1930 to everybody earning an income today.
Boom. Now, this is where we're going to get really into the fucking Matrix right here. We're going to get, like, into the Twilight Zone. What if an exposed video comes out on this guy that proves he's wrong? Like, I feel like this could be an infinite, like, telephone fantasy where we're just proving wrong and wrong and wrong. And, like, how do you know what's right? Because watching the first video, it looks like he was right. And he did, like, actually do research and stuff, just not that deep.
No, you're not worse off than they were in the Great Depression. Sorry. According to the National Archives, the average income in the 1930s was about $1,300. Adjust for inflation, we're looking at $23,000 a year, not $88,000.
So we're actually doing better, believe it or not.
In his video, he says the $4,000 figure is for one person. It's one American's income. But that's wrong. It's one individual tax return, which you could file separately or jointly. Now, household income isn't exactly the same thing, but I think it's close enough. And in 21, that number was 71,000 almost.
Whoa.
So no, 22,000 in today's numbers as the average versus a 77,000 median household income today. You are not financially worse off than they were in the Great Depression.
Yeah,
and really,
this just kind of makes sense, just like in reality, even though it's pretty bad for a lot of people. Back then, it was bad for, like, almost everyone. Like, this is where you could question how it was shown to us historically, especially in schools. But when I remember learning about the Great Depression, I remember seeing people who look wealthy or, like, decently middle class on lines waiting for food, trying to get a job. Like, I saw it affect a lot of people.
to the 550,000 people liking this, I say shame.
Yeah, and 550,000, it's like 2 million now.
Shame on you. When you see an absurd claim like this, you shouldn't just uncritically accept it. If I said that actually more Americans are dying of violence today than they did at the height of the Civil War.
Untrue.
Your response shouldn't be, oh, interesting. Your response should be, that doesn't make sense. That sounds...
See, this is where a lot of things now, just for me personally, I don't know what sounds ridiculous or not anymore. Maybe that's because I'm different, or maybe it's because, like, society is so fucked, we see a whole bunch of ridiculousness anyway, where I can't recognize it anymore because it's constantly shown at us, whether it's real or not, it's just shown to us. It's hard. It's honestly hard.
Sounds implausible at its face, and you should either do more research or just reject the claim outright.
Big facts.
Finally, I tried to bring a little bit different energy to this video than I have to previous.
Okay, cool. Very nice. You did very nice. But anyway, yeah, so that proves that, you know, don't trust everything you hear, and, Even though people can get statistics, they could still misuse them or just be wrong about them. So definitely be careful, and that's why I always say if this is true, because I am a skeptic. Let's watch all the videos in between.
I found the real reason why the American Revolutionary War was started, and I think history is repeating itself.
Why?
And it's not what they taught us in school.
Oh, is it because of BlackRock? Because this is the BlackRock guy. I know this guy is the BlackRock guy.
About the American Revolutionary War in school, you were probably taught about things like the Stamp Act.
Yes.
Where the slogan was no taxation without representation.
representation.
And sure, this is part of the story, but it's not the whole story.
Just like in France, how they're saying, like, oh, they're rioting because of the retirement age. Well, yeah, that's part of it, but that's not the whole thing. It's a whole bunch of reforms they're doing that the people don't like, not just retirement. This is where history definitely gets spun.
So what was it that the Founding Fathers were really most concerned about? Well, it definitely wasn't tea, and part of it was taxation without representation. But the big thing was actually money.
The money!
If you notice, the Stamp Act was regulating all sorts of printed materials that had to be printed on stamped paper. So they were regulating printed materials.
Okay.
And the important part is that it had to be paid in British currency, not in colonial paper money. Because at the time, the colonists were experimenting with all sorts of their own kinds of money. During the 1700s,
just like crypto, that's not good. People don't like crypto, our government doesn't like crypto.
The colonists were free from English central banking that had been ruling their lives for the last 100 years or more, and they were inventing their own currencies by the people, for the people. And don't get me wrong, many of those currencies were garbage, and many of them failed. It was the Wild West. There were all kinds of problems with colonial paper money, but it wasn't controlled by the English central bank. And that was a problem. So Great Britain imposed all kinds of laws to try to regulate the paper currencies that were getting invented. And when the Stamp Act went into effect, because so much of these taxes had to be paid in British currency, it put a de facto end to much of this colonial paper money because businesses needed to pay their taxes in this currency. They couldn't pay it with this currency. This is how the
Doesn't that sound like the American dollar?
British retained control of their currency until the Revolutionary War. It makes me think of one of the most famous quotes from a Rothschild. "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws." Mayor Anselm Rothschild, 1790. American history is vastly complex, and any TikTok is going to vastly oversimplify it.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they teach you about the stamps and the tea in school and not about the money. And while I was researching this, I kept on thinking like, the incumbent established governmental powers passing a bunch of regulation to try to regulate new currencies invented by the people? Weird, that sounds familiar. It's almost like people inventing new sovereign forms of money that aren't ruled by central banks and established power is a threat to the powers that be. I mean, it was kind of weird how for years and years and years, the SEC and Mr. Gensler gave no guidance as to whether cryptocurrencies were securities or not and whether or not they would be regulated, and then all of a sudden we're at war with cryptocurrencies. Besides, Gary Gensler is like a public servant. He's not like part of an entrenched, established financial elite at all. And I mean, come on, he was nominated by Mr. Joe B., who's literally uncorruptible and has no evidence of ever having done anything shady.
Yeah, the guy that literally made it illegal to strike or unionize in the railroads.
Besides, Gary's an expert at finance, and he learned it from one of the most reputable organizations ever, who literally can't even escape Wikipedia calling them out, has been criticized for lack of ethical standards, working with dictatorial regimes, close relationships with the U.S. federal government via a revolving door of former employees. I mean, lots of cryptocurrencies are trash, you know? It's the Wild West of new money. Kind of like paper money was back in the 1700s. And it kind of makes you think how different the world would look if we were all still using British currency and this had never happened.
The sun would never set on the British Empire.
But if you work for the CIA and you're watching this, just know that I am not calling for a revolution.
Same here. I second this. I'm not calling for violence. It's just I'm exercising my opinion, saying that I think violence might happen if things keep going the way they're going. I don't want it to happen. I just think it might.
I'm just calling for education about finance. Like, the average person doesn't know shit about how money works, and they should.
That's true.
Sue me. And P.S., I'm going out in the woods again this weekend. I'll be gone for a little bit. Don't worry. I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I have no intention to Epstein myself. Life is great over here. Y'all be good now.
Yo, he's gonna get replaced by a robot, Fallout style. He's gonna become a synth. But yeah, dude, I love this guy. This is where, again, right? Just coming off the other video we saw, I'm always gonna question now, are people telling me the truth? And again, it's sad we're getting into a period of time where there's no way to hardcore confirm if it's the truth or not. There really isn't. Like, you can't confirm the truth anymore because you can have people like this that seem like it's true, especially with the other guy too, but it could still be wrong where even the people exposing them, I question if they're true. It's fucking crazy. But anyway, I love this guy. This guy's really cool. He's very informative.
The Elon and Zuck fight may have just got even crazier. Because now it's being reported that a member of...
Let's get even more distracted from the world's problems. Because if we can't solve them, we might as well self-medicate and distract ourselves.
The Italian government has offered for it to happen in the bloody Colosseum. I mean, just think about this. Not only is the Colosseum one of the 7 wonders of the world and the most famous battle theater in history, but this would be one of the first actual fights held inside the nearly 2,000-year-old venue in hundreds of years. And guess what? Both Elon and Zuck said that they would love for the fight to be held at this historic venue. The only drawback is that only a few hundred people would actually be able to attend the event. So the question is, do you think this is a good location?
All the other billionaires.
For the fight or not? The Elon and Zuck...
So this is where, like, the only people who are gonna afford actual live tickets are gonna be the rich. But they're gonna, like, pay-per-view this shit. They're gonna have this on the internet and everything. And I remember there was something on the internet, not very recently. I think it was the Logan, it was the Jake, or one of the Paul fucking idiots versus KSI. And one of the biggest thing about that fight was people pirating it. Like, they actually went after people who, like, saw it illegally. I think that's the first time I heard it be that big. Excuse me. But anyway, yeah, this is crazy. I mean, again, of course this can only happen with the rich fuckheads, but I hate the rich fuckheads. Let's keep going.
You may be wondering, why did the Supreme Court strike down the president's student loan forgiveness program?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of old news, obviously, but still pertinent to today. Student loan forgiveness got stricken down by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court saw it, and they were like, you want to, like, help people with one of the 2 major things in debt, or, like, that keeps them in debt throughout their whole lives and makes them struggle? Yeah, no, we want them to have it. This is where I think, again, like I've said, it's the rich not wanting to lose one of their sources of income that makes them rich. There's so much money to be made with student loans that I don't think it's ever going to get stricken down, at least fully. But let's see.
You've come to the right place. First, you have to understand there were actually 2 cases the Supreme Court heard on this matter. One was brought by 2 students who sued because they didn't qualify for the program, and the other was brought by 6 GOP-led states who said the program would have hurt their tax revenue. The Supreme Court unanimously dismissed the case brought by the student borrower, saying they didn't have standing to even bring the case in the first place.
Wow.
But the other case, Biden versus...
By the way, I've mentioned this before, but the Supreme Court is so bullshit. Not only have we seen them literally break federal law by not disclosing donations, right? They broke federal law with that, I believe. I think it's federal law. They broke it. They're not in jail. Almost no repercussions aside from public outcry, which people forget about very quickly. Look at Travis Scott coming back. And they can literally throw out cases and choose to not do anything meaningful for the entire year and still get paid. And they have this job for life. So... what does that tell you?
This is Nebraska, which was a 6-3 ruling with all conservatives in the majority and the liberals in the minority, found 2 things. One, that the state of Missouri, which was one of the states suing, did have standing because the state could prove it would suffer an injury because its MOHELA program, which services student loans, would lose tax revenue if the forgiveness program was implemented.
Interesting, right? People who give out money to the students as a loan would lose money if you forgive the loan, and that would hurt their taxes. Well, no fucking duh.
And 2, that the president, by way of the Secretary of Education, overstepped his authority by using the HEROES Act of 2003.
Just think about that. The president overstepped his authority. The leader of our country, which realistically, if we're gonna actually be literal and stick to the rules, is just the leader of our army, not like of the country. He's supposed to lead the army. He's the general of our army. He's not the one who makes laws and stuff. That's the Senate. So if we're being, according to the rules, this already shouldn't be like the way it is, but it is, because the president's role has evolved.
To justify how he could forgive a total of more than $400 billion in federal student loans.
Maybe because it would help people stay out of poverty.
In the majority opinion.
This guy looks like a fucking evil asshole. His eyes look so red, too. Like, I don't know if you guys could see that. It's hard to see, but his eyes look very red. He looks like a demon. I'm just gonna, like, shit talk everyone who's rich in some evil, bad way. I hate these fuckers.
And written by Chief Justice John Roberts, he said, the HEROES Act allows the Secretary to waive or modify existing statutory or regulatory provisions applicable to financial assistance programs under the Education Act, but does not allow the Secretary to rewrite the statute. The Secretary's new modifications of these provisions were not moderate or minor. Instead, they created a novel and fundamentally different loan forgiveness program.
So basically what they're saying is, oh, you're forgiving too much, this is bad. Like, you're not supposed to forgive this much money. You're gonna save them too much money. And the loan people are not gonna get, like, all their money back.
Dissent, Justice Kagan says the court shouldn't have granted standing in either case. She says the Supreme Court should not have heard either of these cases.
Wow, these people are evil. It's crazy.
The first line in her dissent says, in every respect, the court today exceeds its proper limited role in our nation's governance.
Disgusting.
Regardless of the dissent, President Biden's student loan forgiveness program is over.
Yeah, it's over, but spoiler alert, they're still gonna fight it. Anyway.
Wow.
We're gonna leave it off here because I've been at this for about 2 hours. I don't think we've ever gone really past 2 hours that crazily, but we're right at the 2 hour mark, kind of. So I think we'll end it here. So this is episode 25 of the TikTok reactions. Hope everyone enjoyed Dark Dimension. Depressing. Like I said, big ad for my Twitch channel. Go on there, watch me at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. Come hang out, come have fun, and come watch me be washed to games. But anyway, if there's any videos y'all want to send me, you can send it to me. Oh, let me see where we got to. So we were at 23rd. We got all the way to... Oh, we kind of made it kind of far. Holy shit. I mean, right now it's July 29th, so let's see if we made it the full month. Oh, I think we did. Oh, we're less than a month away, but next week we're going to be a month away. Fuck. Okay, right. Yep, right here. Perfect. Like that. What the? There we go. Perfect. So, like I said, if you guys have any video... Oh my god, I forgot to fucking delete this. Elfo keeps fucking with me. If you guys have any videos you want me to see, please send them to Tecnics, and then I'll review them. And if they're good enough, I'll send them to here. But anyway, hope everyone enjoyed. That's it.